V to your home?
Yeah.
So Lindsay suggested 3V and you agreed, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Did she send you another text at 4:56 p.m. asking you to take a look at the menu?
Yeah.
And did you send a text at 5:06 p.m. About Callan?
Yeah, I asked if he had taken a nap.
And did she respond?
Yeah.
And what was her response?
That it was a shorter nap and he was awake.
Okay. And at that time, did you also send a separate text asking what she was getting at 3V?
Yeah.
And what was her response?
I don't remember what she ordered.
Do you recall a Mediterranean Power Bowl?
Yeah, that sounds right.
And did she ask you what you were getting?
Yeah.
And at 5:08 p.m., did you respond?
Yeah.
And what did you tell her?
I forget what it was.
Do you recall scallop and pork belly risotto?
Yeah.
That was it?
Yep.
Who called in the order to 3V?
Lindsay.
Once the order was placed, what did you do?
I came upstairs. I took Callan for a minute, and then I rocked him by my knees, kissed Cora on the head, and I said, I'll be right back.
And what was Dawson doing when you were leaving?
He was eating chicken nuggets on the couch.
And do you recall if he was using a bowl or a plate?
It was a bowl.
Do you remember what the defendant's, well, first of all, where was the defendant seated when you left the house, or was she seated?
She was standing in the
And where
doorway.
was she?
In the doorway of the living room.
And was that the doorway by the front door or the doorway by the basement door?
It was the doorway by the basement door.
Okay. And did she have Callan, or where was Callan?
She had Callan.
Okay. And what was her demeanor?
Normal.
Counsel, could I see both sidebar here?
All right, let's go ahead and pull away from this. There'll be sidebarring there for at least a couple of seconds, at least. We're still waiting, President Trump. It looked like everyone started to stand up, so it looks like we're getting very close here to the president beginning his remarks in Michigan. He's at the General Motors facility there in one of the spots that they have across the state. But you know, some of the things that they're going to be touting. Lots of investments, but of course, some talk about the midterms as well. This is a very key state for the midterms, including having a number of key races. One of the Senate races, one of the opportunities Republicans have to flip the Senate, one of the seats that Democrats are going to have to hold if they want to have any chance of taking back the Senate. You also have the governor's mansion, one of the opportunities Republicans have to flip a key battleground state there. And of course, you have 3 House districts that are going to be in the running for one of the races that could determine the House of Representatives. And we're talking every single race in the House is going to matter this election cycle. This majority for the Republicans is extremely slim right now. So just flipping one seat could make all the difference in which party is going to control the House of Representatives when we get to Election Day, or when we get to January next year and a new House of Representatives takes over. We do have some activity going on the Senate floor right now. It appears that Senate pro tempore, what was that? They're considering Jay Clayton's nomination. Okay, it looks like the Senate's going to be deliberating over Jay Clayton's nomination, who is the picked by President Trump to be the Director of National Intelligence. So let's go ahead. We're listening to Chuck Grassley right now, who is the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, one of the key figures when it comes to getting President Trump's D&I nominee across the finish line. So let's go ahead and listen in to him. And of course, like we said before, if President Trump takes to the podium or somebody else does, like Secretary Duffy, who's also there, we'll go ahead and take that live.
Seeking to practice their faith free of government control have to fear their identity being discovered and then facing punishment or even imprisonment. This is precisely what happened to Pastor Jin. His only offense was leading an independent Christian congregation and exercising his fundamental freedom to worship without Chinese government interference. In November of 2025, the Senate passed a bipartisan resolution that condemned the Chinese Communist Party's persecution of religious groups, including Pastor Jin and the leaders of the Zion Church. In March of this year, I joined a congressional letter to President Trump asking that he advocate for Pastor Chin's release in a meeting that he recently had with the Chinese president. Today, we can celebrate that Pastor Chin is...
All right, it appears that we are starting to hear from some speakers in Michigan, so let's go ahead and head back out there and listen in.
Thanks for joining us here on Fox 9 All Day. I'm Courtney Godfrey. I'll be with you for the next 3 hours. Some breaking news out of Wisconsin this afternoon as an extremely dangerous tornado hit parts of Appleton and Menasha, Wisconsin this afternoon. That according to the National Weather Service. So it prompted the agency to issue a particularly dangerous situation tornado warning, which is the second highest level warning. Here's a photo from the Appleton Police Department. This shows just a portion of the damage that we are seeing via video and social media photos right now across the internet. So apparently after hitting Menasha, the tornado moved over Lake Winnebago and dissipated once over water, but it sounds like it was observed for at least 20 minutes around the Appleton area. And yeah, just some scary stuff coming out of Wisconsin as the National Weather Service says it is watching this storm closely. Lots of videos of damage that we don't have the licensing or the confirmation yet to use. As soon as we get some of those videos confirmed, we will bring them to you. But as of right now, large tornado hits northeast Wisconsin. And back here in Minnesota, firefighters are making steady progress against wildfires that have burned more than 70,000 acres in northern Minnesota and in Canada. Today, Governor Walz traveled to Ely, where he received a wildfire briefing and thanked crews battling the fires. There are more signs of progress, too. Some evacuation orders have been lifted and scaled back as the fire continues to improve, allowing more residents to return to their homes. The Superior National Forest has also reopened select Boundary Waters entry points for day use, and officials say that they hope to resume limited overnight camping permits as early as later this week, if the fire activity remains low, of course. Despite the progress, officials warn, though, that this hot, dry weather doesn't help, so conditions can quickly change. And a man accused of making online threats against ICE agents pleaded not guilty on all counts during his first court appearance this morning. Federal prosecutors say 37-year-old Kyle Wagner posted videos and messages encouraging people to target immigration agents and allegedly shared the name and address of a pro-ICE individual online. Wagner remains in federal custody and is facing multiple felony charges. The future of a proposed data center in Inver Grove Heights is back before the City Council tonight. And members will review an independent consultant's recommendation on whether a resident petition warrants a full environmental review. The proposed project is already on hold under a one-year moratorium that was approved last month following concerns over noise, water use, and other potential impacts. Well, and here we go. Another day of dangerous heat and humidity is gripping the state of Minnesota. A heat advisory remains in effect until 8 p.m. tonight, with temperatures in the 90s and the heat index values nearing 100 degrees. Now, this comes after yesterday marked the hottest day so far of 2026 in the Twin Cities, while today's tropical humidity ranks among the highest the metro has seen in 15 years. Helping me out today behind the scenes is going to be Kara Savage. Kara, it was a hot one yesterday. We actually went to the Twins game, took the kids to the Twins game, and braved the heat. So it was fun, but man, it was hot.
Sorry, yeah, I did not go outside yesterday, and so I saw you posting at the Twins game, and I don't know how you did it.
Well, we you know, my son, we made sure to pump them full of electrolytes, first of all.
Good call.
Yes. Gatorade in our house is a treat. Yesterday, they got multiple bottles of Gatorade. So, but once my son started to express like not feeling good, we were like, that's it. We're just dumping water on them. So
I also saw you posting videos of that. Yep.
Yeah.
Dumping water on the neck. That's the way to do it.
Yes. So we were
wrist.
soaking wet. We were just like soaking wet head to toe, because then they thought it was great. They're like, oh, this is a water fight. Like mommy's getting wet, daddy's getting wet. And they didn't want to leave. We tried to leave. We were like, okay, we'll stay for like, until the 6th inning. And then once they were wet, they were like, we're great. We want to stay. And of course, we bought tickets in the shade. And so we were following all the safety tips. But yeah, it was a hot day at the ballpark. A better plan would have been to go out on the water, but
that's okay. I feel like it's part of the fun. And I feel like once you accept, you're like, I'm going to be hot, I'm going to be sweaty. Once you accept it, then you can have some more fun.
Yeah, and then we went home and turned the sprinkler on and just let them go balls to the wall in the sprinkler, because man, it's hot out there. The only thing that you can do in this heat is stay in the air conditioning.
Yes.
Or get fully submerged in water.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So I stayed in the AC yesterday.
Good for you. Yeah, I love the term that I stole from Jared Piepenberg is air you can wear. And my goodness, you walked outside today and you were wearing it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You were wearing it.
I was outside pumping gas for my way to work, and I was like, this is long enough outside. I'm done.
It's wild. I don't know if I've ever felt this kind of humidity in Minnesota. I know we said, the highest humidity we've seen in 15 years, so that predates my time. I walked outside, was like, I'm sorry, am I in Louisiana or Minnesota?
Yeah, it's intense, it's thick, it's gross. We all know it.
It's bad, but I'll take this over 10 below any day. And that's a hill I will die on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'll take heat over cold any day, but the humidity makes me kind of question it.
And I think we are asking people on our website, fox9.com/allday, whether you prefer the heat or the humidity. And were we looking for photos?
What's worse? What do you think is worse, the humidity or the heat?
Yeah, so chime in, let us know. And then I think, were we also asking for photos? I don't know.
Yeah, photos. So if you took any pictures of your windows this morning with the dew, yeah.
We want to see them.
We want to see them. Yes, please.
All right, Kara, we'll hear from you in a bit. Like I said, we've got that big news of the tornado in Wisconsin. So the city of Appleton and the neighboring municipalities are currently responding to many storm-related calls. That, according to the Appleton, Wisconsin Police Department. And the police department there said they will be updating the public as soon as more information becomes available. But we are already hearing that the National Weather Service is confirming that this is a tornado. They just haven't said what level. We expect that we should learn that pretty soon. Usually they have assessors on the ground same day. Sometimes it takes until the next day, and then we'll find out what level EF this is. It sounds like we do have some more photos to share. Let's go ahead and put those up on the screen. These are just incredible here. You can see.
So this is in Appleton, Wisconsin. It's more so Fox Valley. This is someone's car or cars.
Wow. Hopefully whoever owns those cars was not in them at the time and that they are safe inside. We are hearing that there are reports of injury. Some wild images coming out of Wisconsin, northeastern Wisconsin. Let's put up that photo again from the Appleton Police Department. Yeah, and that appears to be a city bus underneath some down trees and power lines there. No confirmation. When the police department posted this, they did not put a descriptor. They just said that they are responding to many storm-related calls, and they'll update the public as information becomes available. But the photos and the videos that we are seeing right now on social media are pretty stunning. Clearly, this potential tornado has done a lot of damage. This hit sometime around the lunch hour, around the noon hour, and looks like it did quite a bit of damage. We're going to continue following this, and as we get permission to use more photos and videos, we will bring them to you here live. For right now, we are going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we are going to talk politics. We are quickly approaching the primary election. So voting day is coming up here in Minnesota. We're going to talk to our political expert all about that hotly contested race between Angie Craig and Peggy Flanagan for that open U.S. Senate seat right after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. In just about 2 weeks, Minnesotans will head to the polls to cast their vote in the state's primary elections. And one of the biggest races on the ballot is the fight for a U.S. Senate seat. Today, the race between Congresswoman Angie Craig and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan took center stage in the final debate before Election Day. Here to talk all about it, our political contributor, Blois Olson. Hi, Blois. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Courtney. Good to be here.
I am not hearing Blois, so can you just make sure he's in my ear? I don't know if you guys at home are hearing him. I just want to make sure I can hear him properly. But assuming he can hear me, I'm going to go ahead. What's your biggest takeaway from the debate that we heard today on NPR?
You know, I think it's the level and the layers of the issues that they went into, from Israel to fraud. Are you not hearing me, Courtney?
Okay. They're telling me what you're saying in my ear, but I can't actually hear you. So
Got
I'm
it.
just going to go off what they're
Okay.
telling me. I'm
No
going
worries.
to charge ahead, even though I can't hear you, and I'm going to have a translator in my ear telling me your answers. Okay,
Okay.
so bear with me. Hopefully, we've got someone in TOC that's trying to fix this issue too. Confirm with me in my ear right now, you guys, that somebody is working to fix this issue, just so we can move on. I know Blois has has a full calendar, so I don't want to waste his time. Did either? Yeah. Okay. So they're saying they can hear you. It's a problem when I can't hear you, though. Do you think that this debate changed the trajectory of this race at all with their performance today?
You know, I think this is really a day-by-day situation. Sometimes it's even an hour-by-hour situation. So you look at, news and events over the weekend, and then you look this morning, Gwen Walz endorsed Angie Craig right before this debate. And so I think both campaigns are looking for every little edge they can get to keep people's attention on the race, to look at it. You know, a poll came out last week, showed that the race is basically a dead heat, 40% with, 20% undecided. So how that kind of starts to play out here will be based on last minute deciders. That's the challenge with the primary, is news of the day can flip somebody within these last 2 weeks pretty quickly.
Okay, good news is I can now hear you, which is promising. I did want to ask you about the Gwen Walz endorsement. So the First Lady put her weight behind Congresswoman Angie Craig. The governor has said he's not going to weigh in here. Do you think that getting his wife to support Angie Craig, does that give Angie any bit of an edge?
Look, Tim Walz and Gwen Walz are pretty popular within the DFL. I think there's a couple angles you can take on this. A couple of weeks ago, Angie Craig posted a picture with Gus Walz, the governor, and Gwen's son. That was not accidental, right? Nothing's accidental at this point in these campaigns. So I think it will signal to Walz supporters that even after serving for 7+ years, that Peggy Flanagan is not favored by Gwen Walz, which implies that Tim Walz is not in favor of it either. I think there's still a chance that Governor Walz will lean in on this race in the closing weeks. One of the things that this raises, that I'm going to write about for tomorrow morning's Morning Take, is to really kind of starts to show the relationship between the governor and the lieutenant governor. We've heard it was strained. Just a few weeks ago on the radio, Lieutenant Governor Flanagan said, there's no drama here, there's nothing here. But the reality is that, she announced to Senate very quickly, boxed Walz out of the race. That was right after he ran for vice president. And there is definitely a fissure in their relationship. She has been, the lieutenant governor through all this fraud. She doesn't acknowledge that she had a direct role in trying to fix it. And so I do think this is a lingering issue that we'll hear more about next 2 weeks.
Let's talk about the fraud, because Angie Craig, Congresswoman Angie Craig, is tying the lieutenant governor to the fraud issue. She says that, the Republicans are just going to go to town on her because they're going to link her as the second in command when all of this fraud was taking place. How do you think that bodes for Flanagan?
Look, fraud is by 2-1 or 3-1 the number one issue on voters' minds in every poll, including our own Fluent's internal polls. The next nearest issue is at 15% or 20%, and that's healthcare. And so Minnesota voters are going to be talking about fraud all fall, and Republicans on every race are going to amplify it as much as possible. At some point, Peggy Flanagan's going to have a better answer than we're all against fraud. Republicans are making everything about fraud. People have looked at this issue for well over 3 years and said, what was done? Was there enough done? Why does it keep coming up? And it's really like the gum that the DFL can't get off their shoe.
I forget the wording you used just a couple minutes ago, but nothing is by mistake at this point in the campaign, something along those lines. So I want to ask you about what's happened in recent days with State Senator John Hoffman coming forward and saying that Congresswoman Angie Craig had a surrogate come to the hospital when he was in the ICU recovering from the assassination attempt and asked for his support for her campaign. These are claims that Congresswoman Craig's team has vehemently denied. I mean, just walk me through what has gone on the last couple of days, these claims, and if they actually, you believe, will influence people's vote.
Well, Courtney, first, as always, I want to disclaim that I represent the Hoffman family on issues related to their legal case and their family, not the senator himself. I don't handle any political issues for the senator. I think the timeline and if it was laid out between text messages, et cetera, would show that this wasn't immediately after Senator Hoffman was shot. This is, I think, more of a what one sense of what you were asking for versus offering support was. But I do think the issue kind of roiled up the race over the weekend, got a little kind of probably a little more emotional and polarizing than even Senator Hoffman meant it to be. And so we'll watch to see how it plays out. I think what you have to understand is the who is going to vote in this primary. Older voters usually vote in primaries. Labor usually votes in a Democratic primary. And labor is split in this race between, blue collar unions and more service unions. So you'll watch to see kind of how those groups play out. But I do think this will be the highest turnout ever in a Minnesota primary and probably reach over 1 million voters on primary day. And we've never done that in a primary before.
This race has been framed as a battle between the progressive wing and the moderate wing of the Democratic Party. Do you think that the outcome of this race will speak to where the Democratic Party is going here in Minnesota and nationally?
Yes, I do think this is a bellwether for Minnesota. It's another bellwether in the nation. We've seen these kind of races in Maine, in Texas. We're seeing it play out in Michigan. We've seen it in New York and Colorado as well. So I do think this is a bellwether of the far left versus a more progressive, moderate Democrat. And most activists do lean further left than the primary voter.
I am curious, though, if you think voters, especially in a primary, if they're going to vote on ideology or if they're going to vote on who they think can win in November.
It is, I would say that most people in the Democratic primary are going to vote for who they think will win. The difference is, can Peggy Flanagan get out the younger, more progressive voters that have been energized since Operation Metro Surge? That's the calculus. When I look at the modeling and look at the numbers that we're doing, Peggy Flanagan's going to have to break the formula that worked with Tim Walz and Mark Dayton to beat endorsed candidates. So she's going to have to break the formula, which is possible with Democrats being so energized against Trump.
Angie Craig has faced criticism, as standing U.S. politicians will, on her past votes. She's especially been called out for voting with Tom Emmer and Donald Trump on a few occasions. She, of course, represents I don't know if it's still considered a swing district, but it has in the past at least been considered a district that is up. A purple district. Do you think that those votes are going to be hard for her to explain on the campaign trail? And do you think they hinder her when it comes to winning over Democratic voters?
I think anybody who's really paid close attention to the race has already made up their mind about those votes, and they've probably decided whether or not they're going to side with Craig or Flanagan. I think in these last 2 weeks, it's really going to be about momentum and energy. And you've seen big names come in and rally for Peggy Flanagan, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. I think the real question is, what is the end game? What is the close, as they say in the campaign, for Angie Craig? If she closes strong with Gwen Walls' endorsement, she's endorsed by Dean Phillips and others. If they come back and make the case for her, I think, it's more likely that she can close any gap of energy here with Lieutenant Governor Flanagan.
Now, I know you said that the relationship between Lieutenant Governor Flanagan and Governor Walz is presumably strained. We don't know for sure. No one's confirmed. But, reading the tea leaves. But do you think that her ties to Walz hurt her a little bit, or do you think it actually helps her being tied to the governor?
Well, I think that's why she has the platform she has, because she's been the lieutenant governor. So I think that did launch her campaign. And I think that it may hurt her in a general. But Governor Walz is still very popular amongst Democrats and Democratic voters. So I don't think it's going to hurt or help anybody. I think it's one of those things. It's the shiny object of the day that Gwen Walz endorsed Angie Craig. And tomorrow there might be a different shiny object in the race that, maybe Peggy Flanagan rolls up. So this is this final stretch here, Courtney, is where you just don't know what's coming. That makes both the campaign fun to cover, but also you just never know, and it's unexpected in how people are even tuning in. And frankly, I think people have not been as tuned into this primary. I think they've been going about their summer pretty rigorously, and they will only tune in the next 2 weeks.
What about the issue of immigration? Obviously, we saw, Operation Metro Surge here in the Twin Cities. Minnesota really became the epicenter for, these ICE crackdowns. How much do you think immigration law will play a role in this race?
Immigration is a big issue. I think it's a big issue. Operation Metro Surge, tied to it, is the energizing issue. If Metro Surge doesn't happen, I think this race is a very different race. And so today during the debate, they argued immigration policy. It's very clear that, Representative Craig has had to vote on these issues in Congress. Lieutenant Governor Flanagan didn't give any specifics on her plan, but she did say, look, we need a system, we need closed borders, et cetera. Immigration as an issue, I think, will remain an issue in the midterm, but I don't think it's as serious as it was 2 years ago when it was one of the center points of the president's campaign.
Okay, so when we move into the general election, whoever the candidate will be for the Democrats, whoever the candidate will be for the Republicans, I mean, it seems to me that in the state of Minnesota right now, a Republican can't win. But I want to know, I'm curious what you think for the general election. I mean, does a Republican have a chance in this race?
Courtney, that's why we play the game, as they like to say. I think, Republicans haven't won statewide in 20 years, but fraud is a major issue for the majority of Minnesota voters. They are looking at that. Healthcare is another one. The economy is another one. And I think that's where you're looking for it. Republicans also want to break their tradition of their endorsed candidates getting through the primary. Just like I said before, that Peggy Flanagan has to break the cycle of non-endorsed candidates winning statewide primaries. Michelle Tafoya or Royce White would have to break the formula of endorsed Republicans getting through. But there's a lot of Republicans that want to show that is the case. And I think we've never seen a race like we're going to see if it is, a race between Michelle Tafoya and either Angie Craig or Peggy Flanagan will be there. Tafoya leads in some of the polls, but again, Adam Schwarzy, the endorsed candidate, also has a good profile. And that is where turnout and energy will matter the most. But look, I think that I've said this before. I think Republicans will win one statewide seat this year. I don't know which one it will be, but I think Minnesotans after the trifecta are going to, send a message in one of the races that says, we're not only going to vote for Democrats statewide.
Interesting. Your insight is always appreciated. Blois Olson, I know we'll have you back soon, so thanks for joining us. Sorry for the tech issues. It happens.
These things happen. It's all good. I had my own. I mean, I'm mobile on a phone with a tripod for the first time ever. So it all works out.
It's not as nice of a background as you usually have, but we'll take you wherever you are.
Sounds good, Courtney. Stay cool.
Yeah, we will. Thanks, boys. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Stay right there. Welcome back. Nearly 2 weeks after evacuation orders went into effect north of Ely due to the wildfire threat, many homeowners are being allowed back to their properties as fire officials continue to scale back evacuation orders. One of those individuals who has been evacuated from his home is Spencer Peter. He also works with the North American Bear Center, which is located in Ely. Spencer, thanks for coming back on the show.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Okay, so first of all, I just want to, on a personal level, how are you and your family doing?
We're doing good. You know, there's been a lot of positivity, good announcements, and general optimism from the original updates and stuff we were getting. And so we're just trying to take things one at a time and be positive. And so, as you mentioned, we're now able to, as of 7 o'clock last night, we're able to go back to our home. So me and my wife are eagerly excited to start doing that process tonight and go back to our home.
So it was last week that they allowed people in to kind of check on their properties. Now, last night they said, okay, at least for most of the people that were in the go zone, as they say, those people are allowed to go back home. Have you been back? And has the landscape changed at all? What does it look like when you return to your home?
Yeah, so we're north of town on 169, the Fernburg Road, or what's also known as the Fernburg Corridor. And our area was still pretty far from the fires. It's just a one-way road. So if the fire made it to the road, the people, including myself, would have been trapped with no way to get back towards town. And so that was part of the reason we were evacuated. And now they have, the different agencies and stuff have determined that the threat is lower or whatever their guidelines are. And so we're now moved down to set, not go. And so we are allowed to return. And so I did go and take advantage of that time that they allowed us to do the sheriff's escorts last week to go ahead and get some stuff and check on our places. And my property, my house, everything was all good. A little smoky, but that was it. Everything was just fine. So the fire had not reached where my personal area is.
So what was that like when you were evacuated, when you were told you had to go? Can you just walk me through, how that, when they say you got to get out of your house, the fire's right there. Walk me through the play-by-play.
Yeah, so I think if you live in this area, you do know that wildfires are a part of the natural landscape up here. We have what's called fire-dependent forests. They rely on it for regen. So it's always been a part of life living in the Northwoods of Minnesota. And we do a good job of making sure you have the different resources that the different state, federal, and local agencies provide to stay updated on that stuff. And they do a good job of alerting people to knowing where they're at with things. And this was one of the unusual times. My specific area was never set to ready. We just went right into set. And so I got the update, what would have been, I think, Sunday night, a few Sundays ago. And so we packed that night, made sure we were ready to go if we got moved to that go status. And me and my wife, we got everything packed. We got binned up everything and had it in the 2 vehicles ready to go. And about 7 o'clock Monday morning, I believe, is when our area was moved to go. And so luckily we were paying attention and we were prepared. I think from when we woke up and saw the go notice, it took us probably about 10 to 20 minutes to completely leave the house and get back to town. And I believe I heard something along the lines of like 12 hours it took to fully evacuate the area that they deemed needed to go. And that includes like the sheriff's office going and checking on each individual residence and making sure the people got out or did what they were going to do. And so us, it was pretty quick and easy because we were paying attention. If you don't pay attention to the different alerts and stuff like that, and maybe you're some kind of off grid, you don't pay attention to the news or social media, it might be kind of a little more difficult, but there's also apps and stuff that you can download that have those updates as well. And so we did a good job of checking with our neighbors as well. Just running around, hey, I don't know if you guys know, but we've been, in this status or this status, so be ready. And then we also have some cabiners by us where that's not their primary residence, it's their vacation cabin. And so we reached out to some of them. It's like, hey, we're in go. Is there anything you'd maybe like us to grab real quick from your cabin that's really meaningful to you that you would just be, totally sad about if it was able, if it unfortunately burned down? And one of our neighbors had said, yeah, there's a quilt from that my mom made, and she has passed away now. So if you could grab that, we'd really appreciate it. And so our neighborhood was pretty friendly and did a good job of making sure everyone was okay and helping where we needed that. And so we ended up helping a few other people on our way out with that process as well. But the sheriff's office did an amazing job. It was quick, concise, safe, and they got everyone out that needed to be out. So it was a very smooth process. It was a little scary just being in it, but I felt very secure with all the different authority figures and officials that were there to help guide and let us know what's going on.
Wow, I can't imagine being in that kind of situation and thinking about others. So good on you, Spencer.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you too, because you're not just being evacuated, but you had to still show up to work every day. The North American Bear Center is in Ely. You've got the bears to worry about. You've got tourists still coming in. You guys were still open and operating, letting visitors come in, kind of a respite from the smoke, at least in your indoor areas. So you continued to show up to work after being evacuated.
Yeah, so I'm very blessed. We have an awesome team here at the North American Bear Center from the top down. That includes our board of directors, our actual director, and everybody else down the line. Phenomenal team we have here. I'm very fortunate that I was able to, I did get some time off to help deal with it, and all the other people here really picked up the slack for me not being here. So I was just thanking some of them actually earlier today for all that they did to step up for me being gone for a little bit. I was in and out of work and doing stuff on the computer and whatnot, but those immediate couple days as we got situated, I was able to get some time off. And again, my awesome team here, as they always do, picked up the slack, and they acted like, I was never even a part of it. That we got it. You deal with what you need to deal with, and we can handle it. And so that was pretty awesome. So I got a day or two reprieve to figure out where we were going to stay. And then I was back to work and making sure things are running smoothly here, and they were, which was great. And and I've had a few times then when we got the notice to go back, I was like, hey, I just got notified. I would love to go do that. Or we, got the group together and they're like, yep, we got it. We'll take care of it. You go take care of your stuff. And so I can't say enough how awesome my team is here. All the employees, all of our volunteers, everybody, they're phenomenal. And they really stepped up to make it easy for me to go deal with that kind of stuff without having to, worry too much about work. So great team here. And yeah, we are still open. Ely's still open. That was one thing that I wanted to make sure I kind of said. Ely's open for business still. The fires are in the greater area, but this is a really important time for the area, including the Bear Center. A lot of the business up here make their money in a few 4 short months of the summer, and it's a really peak season right now. And so the timing of these fires is just really detrimental to the business here in Ely and people's way of life here. And so we're trying to get the message out that it's still open here. I mean, today we were outside and everything. It's not hazy, nothing like that. We see people in and around town. We had some groups in today, so I think people are coming back, which is great. But yeah, it was a little bit interesting kind of managing. I got half my life picked up and moved, and I have still responsibilities at work. I'm also a board member of the Chamber of Commerce, so I had some messaging to help with there because, again, we're dealing with a wildfire situation. So it has been a little hectic 2 weeks, but we're just keeping, day by day and making sure things are going smoothly, and we're trying to make sure we get business back to Ely. So.
Yeah, I was going to go there with you. I mean, I want you to put your hat on as a board member of the Chamber of Commerce, and you're working at the North American Bear Center, which is a huge tourist destination there in Ely. I know that this has been so hard for the tourism industry. Tourism is a huge part of most people's livelihood there in that area. What have the last couple of weeks been like as people cancel their trips? Their permits are being canceled, so they're not coming to town. They're canceling their stay at the lodges. I've heard that it's just been really slow there.
Yeah, I think some of the lodging and the outfitters specifically took some of the harder hits because, well, some of those lodging facilities may have been in the evac zones. And so they had to shut down completely. Some of them are still there helping as firefighters are maybe working in their area specifically and using those grounds as maybe like a kind of a base camp to further themselves out into the more immediate areas. But the outfitters, because they closed the boundary waters, they weren't able to send people out into the boundary waters. They could still kind of make do with some of the Superior National Forests and send them other ways. But obviously, as you mentioned, the boundary waters is the big draw. And if it closes, a lot of those outfitters didn't have a choice but to, kind of shut down too, or just kind of try to figure out something. And then they have a whole summer staff that they hire as well. And so if you don't have guests coming in, taking canoes out on trips, what do you got the employees doing and stuff? Obviously, that's a huge hurt for them as well. And you have some people that come up here to live the summer and work the summer, and they get out to somewhere else in the winter. And so, you have these quite large operations because some of these outfitters are sending out, dozen or more trips a day or groups a day into the boundary waters. And that just all went away with almost a snap of a finger. And so that was really tough. And then obviously the rest of town, more or less, is kind of based around that as a main means of business. And so seeing the boundary waters get closed was just really tough for the businesses to kind of handle. And again, as I mentioned, it's peak season for us. We had a festival that was supposed to happen this weekend that got canceled due to the wildfires and just the general resources on town that it consumes when the festival's going on and the influx of firefighters and stuff. It was just really a tough situation to safely say, let's just go ahead and do it. And so that was a hurt as well. But again, a lot of it is based around that tourism, and we get it. We want people to be safe. We're not saying, no, it's no big deal. Let's just go enjoy it. No, it's not like that. But we just really want to try to have, some consistent messaging that Ely itself is, safe, and there's still plenty of stuff to do in and around Ely. And it's important to this community that we try to get some people back up here to help compensate for that lack of that 2 weeks where we really lost a lot of good business.
Wow. Yeah, it's sad to watch. When you did get back into your home, Spencer, was there anything that you were like so grateful to get back to? Any item that you were like, yes, I'm back. I have this back.
There was a couple things. So we had to make a tough decision. I had a fish tank with some live fish in it, and we weren't able to get them out the first time. And so it had been a little while since I had fed them. Obviously, I haven't gone back. And so I didn't know what to expect, if they were going to be all passed or what. All of them were alive, and they were doing great. And so I was able to take them back with me the second time. And again, speaking to my team here, the Bear Center, We have smaller animals here as well, and so they put some space aside for me to house my various fish here at the center, which was pretty cool. And so some of the fish that I own are being held right now at the center as a temporary setup so that they can stay alive and then I can get them back to my house. And so that was kind of cool. And that was been fun for the staff as well because they're not native species to the area. And so they get to work with a lot of, fish that you'd find in the lakes and streams in Minnesota and frogs and toads you'd encounter. And so some of these things it was cool for them to kind of see, but I was very grateful that they were still alive and we were able to get them back on the second time. So that was pretty cool. And then just seeing the house was neat. You didn't know what to expect really. I knew the fires hadn't reached there, and I mean, I remember vividly kind of saying goodbye to my house as I backed down the driveway because I knew, there's a chance that we don't come back to it as is, and there was a chance we come back to it and nothing's changed. And I didn't know when I left the first time which one I'd be coming back to. So it was just kind of neat to see it and, like, oh, it is still standing. You can see the fire maps and see that it wasn't there, but seeing it with your own eyes is different. And so I was a little emotional for me and my wife when we got to see it and everything was fine. And so those things were kind of the biggest things for me.
I can't imagine the relief. Wow, just what you guys have been through up there. And I just am continually impressed in the way that this community has wrapped its arms around each other and neighbors helping neighbors. Yeah. Just incredible. Spencer, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
All right, and like you said, Ely is open for business, especially now that they're opening up more of those evacuation zones. A lot of those zones are being scaled back, and they're letting homeowners back in, lodge owners back in. So good news out of northern Minnesota today. All right, we are going to take a quick break, but we'll be back right after this. Welcome back. We continue to follow updates coming out of Wisconsin today as a tornado swept through the Appleton area this afternoon, just around the lunch hour. So we know that there have been many downed trees. Power has been knocked out to thousands of individuals. The National Weather Service confirmed a tornado in Winnebago County, around 90 miles northwest of Milwaukee. You're taking a look at some photos that we've been able to obtain. So these are pictures taken by individuals. I can't exactly see what that is there, but you can see the extensive damage that has occurred there. Video has shown chunks of twisted metal and pieces of wood scattered across highways. Cars we can see trying to maneuver through the immense amount of debris. Lots of damaged buildings, damaged homes, damaged businesses. And I'm just reading through here. So, yeah, they're getting reports of a variety of damage across several different counties there in the Appleton area. Just devastating, clearly.
Yeah. And I will add, the city of Menasha, their police department Facebook site, they just posted, they said, please do not travel into Menasha at this time unless it is an emergency. Traffic congestion, downed trees, power lines, debris, and blocked roadways are preventing emergency responders and utility crews from reaching affected areas. The following locations are open as emergency cooling shelters and can provide water and basic assistance. That includes Christ the Rock Church, Menasha Senior Center, Menasha Public Library.
Okay, good information for any of our viewers who may be watching out of Wisconsin. But all indications are that this was a devastating system. It's caused extensive damage. We know that for sure. We're just waiting on the Weather Service to confirm what level EF tornado this was, but they have confirmed that it was indeed a tornado that swept through Wisconsin during today's lunch hour, so just a few hours ago. And the photos that we continue to get in are absolutely devastating, and we'll continue to keep you posted on that news throughout the afternoon today. All right, I want to switch gears here back to Minnesota. We've got a lot of new laws that have been taking effect. Several went into effect July 1st. We've got more that are taking effect August 1st, and this one is interesting. So if your pet passes away, changes medications, or simply doesn't finish a prescription because they don't need it anymore, those leftover pills can now help another animal thanks to a new law. So Minnesota has become the 4th state in the country to create a veterinary drug donation program, allowing eligible pet medications to be donated instead of thrown away. Here to talk all about it is Dr. Pam Johnson from the Minnesota Board of Veterinary Medicine. Dr. Johnson, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Okay, so what should people know? Explain this law to us and how it impacts consumers.
So the law is, it's got several safety features that people should know about. The first one is that the drug should not be expired. It should have no signs of any tampering or adulteration. It can't be a controlled substance. Anything that's addictive or some of the controlled pain medications are not eligible. And then it can't be a compounded drug. So it's important for the veterinarian who's prescribing these medications to ensure the safety of the drug before it is eligible for the donation program. And the program is also, it's set up on a decentralized system to where veterinary facilities or veterinarians themselves, animal shelters or pounds can volunteer to become a donation center. The Board of Veterinary Medicine will manage the laws regarding the program, but it's really up to the veterinarians to decide whether they want to participate in the program.
So who's poised to benefit from this new law?
Really, any pet owner is eligible to receive donations as long as there's a need, but particularly animal shelters and pounds, we feel can really benefit from this because they already have, a lot of expenses that may not be covered. And if somebody wants to donate preventative medications to the pounds or shelters, that can really help them stretch their limited budgets.
I'm curious how this became outlawed in the first place.
Well, it just wasn't on the books. I think it was something that was overlooked. Safety is always a concern. So having these safety standards in law is really will make hopefully veterinarians feel more comfortable about donating it. But we just didn't have the structure or the support by the laws to allow this to happen previously.
So once the unused prescriptions get donated, is it veterinarians who are allowed to hand it out, or what are the rules around where the items must be donated and who has to be the ones to hand them back out to get reused?
Yes, so it's up to the veterinarian who's prescribing the medication. They're ultimately responsible to ensure the safety of the product and also ensure that it's prescribed properly. So it does come down to the veterinarian.
Interesting. What about things like heartworm prevention, flea and tick? Do those fall under this?
Yes, certainly. And if everyday citizens want to donate to shelters or to veterinary facilities to animals in need, this would be a perfect example of someone that could contribute that way and help. You know, access to care is really important, and the rising costs of treatments and medications has sometimes pushed care out of the hands of certain citizens. So we want to, do the best we can to protect animals, protect the public, and also ensure the access to the care that they need.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about affordability. The cost of veterinary care is astronomical. The drugs are expensive as well. I mean, there are plenty of people who can't afford it. I think my notes here say that 1 in 3 pet owners struggle to afford routine veterinary care. How much of this is about, being able to care for animals when, maybe those prescription drugs aren't worked into the family budget?
Yeah, we're hoping that this can help fill a need. Veterinarians deal with the same rising costs as everyday citizens. So the cost of managing a practice, running a practice, you have to purchase the drugs, the technology. It's all very expensive. So that contributes to the rising cost of veterinary care. We all have had those clients where it's just heartbreaking. They can't afford the medications they need. So I feel that this has great possibility to help those people out.
And what about liquid medications? Is it just pills that are accepted?
We don't have specific rules regarding the type of medication, but I will say that it can be difficult to know if a liquid has been tampered with. So out of due diligence for the veterinarian, I would advise them against accepting liquid medications unless it's in its original packaging and it's had tamper evident seal on it. It's really up to the discretion of the veterinarian how much risk they want to assume when accepting donated medications. Obviously, if it's in its original packaging, it's easy to tell if it's been tampered with. But it's very common for veterinary facilities to dispense medications in their own pill bottles because of the way they purchase medications. So that's where we say, pills are safer. It's a reduced risk associated with accepting those medications.
Now, will animal shelters and rescues be able to receive these donations and then pay them forward, for lack of better terms?
Yeah, they will. It's a voluntary program. So the facilities need to volunteer to become a donation center, and it's really up to them. It's serving your community. If since controlled substances are not allowed, the process of maintaining those donated drugs should be very, not much of an ask for a veterinary facility to do that. And they certainly can, if they have donated medications, use them for their clients.
Okay, very interesting. That law is now in effect in Minnesota. So go ahead and donate any unused, not expired prescriptions to your veterinary clinic. Probably a good idea to call ahead, make sure they take these donations though.
Yeah, check with your veterinarian before to make sure they're participating.
Great, wonderful. Dr. Pam Johnson with the Minnesota Board of Veterinary Medicine, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we are going to check back in on the status of that severe weather that hit Wisconsin in the Appleton area. A confirmed tornado touched down there. The Weather Service is on the scene, and we are going to check back in with news out of Wisconsin on that and all the other headlines we're following just after this break. welcome back. Topping the news headlines today is a tornado in Wisconsin. So a tornado swept through Wisconsin this afternoon, just around the lunch hour, downing trees, power lines, leaving several thousand without power and destroying homes and businesses. The photos coming out of there are just incredible. This all took place just around Appleton, also in the Menasha area. So the National Weather Service, using radar, confirmed a tornado in Winnebago County, about 90 miles northwest of Milwaukee. Of course, they have not confirmed what EF level it is, but they have said this was a confirmed tornado. We're seeing videos and pictures of downed trees. Let's show a couple of those. Yeah, here's some destroyed cars. Clearly some trees came crashing down on these cars, as we are seeing various pictures looking just like this. Twisted metal, I mean, wood and debris scattered all over the place. And we're seeing businesses also destroyed. I think we had a photo of a gas station that looked, yes, there it is. Devastating images coming out of Wisconsin today. So they put out a warning that I guess it was like the second highest level warning that they can put out right before this tornado came about. Reading online, individuals said that they got the warning, they heard the sirens, all of a sudden the sky was dark as night. It got very ominous, and then it was gone. So still looking for confirmation on the level of tornado this was, but the damage is mostly in southern Outagamie County and eastern Winnebago County. There you go. So we'll continue to follow this throughout the afternoon and bring you any updates as it becomes available. Back here in Minnesota, firefighters continue to make steady progress on those wildfires that are burning in northeastern Minnesota and across the Canadian border. So far, more than 72,000 acres have burned. Some evacuation orders have been scaled back as fire conditions improve. They've also allowed some individuals to go back into the boundary water, so they're opening it up to some day use permits at certain entry points in Cook County. They also are hoping to open up some overnight permits later this week. But earlier today, Governor Tim Walz traveled to Ely, where he received a wildfire briefing and thanked crews battling the fire. Take a listen.
So hearing that we've got some day paddles going, that we may have a broader decision on overnights on Thursday, we know that those decisions will be based first and foremost on safety and then that consideration. So the way, and you're hearing us talk about it, triaging this, protecting life, protecting property, containing the fires, but we simultaneously do need to plan for what this looks like. I again will thank the legislators. I think you'll hear me say this every time it's flooding or anything else that happens. Minnesota's disaster contingency account is the envy of the nation. If we do not reach thresholds for federal assistance, we have a pool of money that is meant to help cities and counties rebuild their infrastructure, rebuild some of the things they need to do, because this is truly a case of all Minnesotans are in this. This is a place where folks down in Worthington want to help out with the fires up here, because sooner or later they're going to be involved in this. So really grateful for that. And as you heard Representative Straba say, I have the ability to call a peacetime emergency after 5 days. That is voted on by the Executive Council, consisting of the Lieutenant Governor, the Attorney General, the Secretary of State, and the State Auditor. That will extend for 30 days. At that time, and that would be August 11th, should this peacetime emergency need to be extended for different things that we have, and things like deploying the National Guard are somewhat of a gray area, but I think including the legislature in this is obviously what the law says. It's exactly what we'll do. I also think it gives us an opportunity to what these two leaders did last week, start setting the groundwork for what an economic recovery package would look like. And I don't know if we're going to need to extend that at this time, but should we get to August 11th, we will talk together amongst leadership about what a special session negotiations will look like. I will just say from my perspective, if there is a special session, it should focus on the fire and the recovery of northern Minnesota, and that's it. And you can do more work next year when you come back. And I think that keeps us focused on what needs to be done. It keeps a lot of the things that are important issues, but it's not the issue that we're talking about.
All right, that was Governor Tim Walz in Ely today. He also visited the Ely Community Response Team that has set up shop at Ely's historic State Theater. We are going to have them on our show in the next hour, and we'll ask him about Governor Walz's visit and what they talked about there. So stay tuned for that. And of course, you know, the wildfire fighting efforts are made more complicated by the heat. So the heat got turned back on this weekend. Another day of dangerous heat and humidity gripping Minnesota. A heat advisory remains in effect until 8 p.m. tonight with temperatures in the 90s. The heat index nearing 100 degrees. This comes as yesterday marked the hottest day of 2026 so far in the Twin Cities, while today's tropical humidity ranks among the highest the Metro has seen in 15 years. So if you don't need to be outside, just stay in the air conditioning. If you're outside, find some cool water to cool down. All right, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to welcome Dr. Maddie Gagnon as we do our Teen Corner segment. Stay right there. Welcome back. A new warning for parents today. Doctors are raising concern about a rise in cosmetic-related eye injuries among children and teens. Researchers say the increase is being driven by beauty products and styling tools, with experts urging families to talk to kids about safety surrounding these products. Dr. Madeline Gagnon, founder of Pulse Teen Mentoring and a pediatrician at Gillette Children's Hospital, joins me now. Maddie, always a pleasure to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
So a pretty startling study here. Basically, a rise in so-called Sephora kids has also led to a rise in emergency room visits. What's going on here?
That's right. So the most recent data is showing over 87% of increase in cosmetic eye-related injuries, particularly in kids ages 5 to 12. Now, that's even younger than we would have expected maybe a decade ago. And so I think the goal here isn't to raise alarm and pull back necessarily on our kids and their cosmetic access, but really to educate our parents who can educate their kids on how best to use these different tools. And there's certain products where we're seeing this most.
Okay, we'll get to that. What types of injuries are we talking about? Are we talking about like eye scratches, chemical irritation, burns?
All of that stuff. So the outer layer of the eye, the cornea, that's the dome that covers the globe of your eye, kind of in front of the colored part of your eye, and that is easily scratched. So mascara wands or glitter can scratch that cornea, and when you scratch that cornea, which is like scratching skin, leads for an opportunity for infection. We also are seeing chemical burns. We're seeing, glue-related products that are removing natural lashes. We're seeing allergic reactions and redness. So really a myriad of things that can interrupt either temporarily or permanently, if the injury is significant, your kid's vision.
What types of products are we talking about here?
Well, the most involved product where we're seeing the most ocular or eye-related injuries are skincare products. And that's because a lot of these skincare products are made for adults, so they have things like retinol or salicylic acid or glycolic acid, things that we're using to redefine fine lines or color spots. And if that gets into the pediatric eye, that can cause redness and burning and chemical irritation. So my largest kind of word of wisdom is to use caution around skincare products, because a lot of those ingredients the pediatric skin just doesn't need yet. Certainly if you're under the care of a dermatologist for your acne, for example, as a preteen or teen, different story. Follow their guidance. The other key products we're seeing is the mascara and eyeliner, certainly because of their close proximity of instrumentation and brushes near the eye or lids, and that can cause scratching or redness or irritation. There we want to make sure not only how to teach our kids how to properly apply that if they're going to use it, but make sure, one, they're not sharing with friends for bacterial reasons, and number two, that they're getting new brushes or new liners every 3 months. Number three, fake eyelashes. We see a lot of trouble in the fake eyelash area. We used to see that only around the Halloween time. Now we're seeing that more, all year, not seasonal. And that's because that glue that you apply, the fake eyelashes, even if you're using the magnetic adhesives, can cause severe allergic reaction to the skin or get into the globe of the eye and cause redness. And of course, if you're not using or kids don't know how to use the proper adhesive remover to remove the fake eyelash, you can then detach or remove the natural eyelashes. Number four, glitter. If you're going to use glitter or your kid's going to use glitter on their eyelids, we encourage it to be cosmetic glitter. Often folks will mix their cosmetics with their craft glitter. And craft glitter is just larger and more abrasive and certainly has a larger tendency to scratch the globe of the eye and cause irritation and redness. And lastly, cosmetic contact lenses, the colorful contact lenses to make your eyes look different colors. Again, we used to see those seasonally around Halloween as well. Now we're seeing that much more prevalently with the rise of influencers in the beauty industry and teaching kids, of course, how to properly take contact lenses in and out. And if they haven't been properly fit or prescribed these contact lenses, that can put unnecessary pressure and potential injury to the globe of the eye.
Okay, you mentioned these beauty influencers. The study says that they believe that social media is really leading to this increase in emergency room visits as these kids are watching beauty influencers online. I mean, what is this about? I mean, talk to me about this trend that you're seeing with beauty influencers. I'm amazed to hear all the things you say they're using, and we're talking about kids from 5 to 12. I mean, goodness, I have a hard time putting on a fake eyelash. I'm impressed that an 8-year-old can do it, but
they have good skills. Hand-eye coordination is strong in the kid world. But I will tell you this, the rise of influencers, is all over social media. And we've talked about social media on prior occasions. The influence is there on cosmetics and a lot more. So it's always important to know what your kid is watching. So being aware if they are on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, knowing what they are watching, because then you'll be up to speed on if the content's appropriate for their age, if the content's safe, and how the content is impacting what is landing with them. So certainly, if they're watching beauty influencers, really talking to your child too about realistic goals about beauty and cosmetics, because I think this world is also largely driven, as we know, by AI, mixed with influencer culture. So talking to our kids about what's real and what's not real and what's safe and not safe for them, and if they're going to use a beauty product, how to use beauty product safely.
Are there products that you would tell parents to ban completely or insist that they be used only under parental supervision?
I always think moderation and communication is the name of any game. That's how I'll answer most parenting questions because I think that's where the power lies. But of that list of products I rattled off, which most cause the injuries, I would come back to the skincare products, the ones specifically that have retinols or salicylic acid or glycolic acid. You know, retinol in particular or glycolic acid, these are products that really no kid, teen, or preteen really would be needing at this stage of the game. You know, there are not these fine lines, sunspots, and wrinkles. They're just not having to worry about that just yet at this stage. And that those products can just unnecessarily cause harm. Retinols can also cause like excessive peeling of the skin and changes in pigmentation, let alone the eye irritation. So again, short of salicylic acid, you know, under the management of, you know, a medical expertise to help you or your kid manage acne, I would think a lot of these products, skincare products that are enhanced with these other ingredients, aren't necessary. You know, a good alternative would be steering your kid down the aisle around moisturizers or other products to, you know, keep their skin hydrated.
So what age is appropriate to let kids start experimenting with cosmetics?
You know, I grew up in a home where my mother sold beauty products. So, you know, I'm biased in the sense that I don't think it's about the beauty product itself or that's dangerous. You know, I want to be careful of the messaging because sometimes as parents come down harsh, you know, I'm not going to let you use mascara till you're 13, you know, that's a family value decision. But at the same point, when we strictly banned things around our kids and don't have just dialogue and conversation and they understand our why, you can see then kids, you know, sneaking at their friend's house and using mascara and using it incorrectly, for example. So I think it's all about every parent talking to their child about, you know, what their child's interested in, why they're interested in this, where they see this, you know, what about them is intriguing to them, and then how to educate them on what's the right choice and what's the right age to use it. For example, I have heard parents say, hey, sure, you know, on the weekends, if you'd like to use some, you know, blush or lipstick, you know, I can help you with that, or we can look at that together, but I don't want you wearing that to school, for example. So if there's places to have give and take with your child and a bit of a compromise around to keep things safe, that's better than a hard stop and then they're finding other avenues, not you parents, other avenues to do these things.
How can parents balance letting their kids experiment and then keeping them safe?
You know, I think it's really about communication, talking to them. You know, you'll notice this because you'll notice it from your checkbook or your pocketbook of them spending more money. I do get that question a lot around these products at, you know, specific beauty stores are really pricey. So you'll see a kid's piqued interest in this, or you'll see their Christmas list or birthday list changed of what they're asking for. I think it's a good opportunity, instead of saying, you don't need that, or why would you want that, say, oh, interesting. Where's that coming from? Because it may also be coming from peer pressure. It may be coming from friends. That may lead you to a different area. Oh, you're feeling excluded because you're not using these beauty products by this group of friends. What's that all about? So this can be a great doorway or bridge into other aspects of your kiddo's life. And I think if there really is a genuine interest, that it's not, you know, to necessarily fit in, or that they really are interested in this, then I think it's about having good conversations about how to apply these products, how to replace these products when they're expired or older, and why it's important not to share these products with your friends. Because using these products does need some degree of understanding and maturation to use them safely.
You always have such great advice on how to steer these conversations with your teens and tweens, and Maddie, we sure appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so fascinating. These Sephora kids, so-called, are resulting in more emergency room visits. Wow. Maddie Gagnon, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much.
All right, I'm in trouble. My 3-year-old likes lip gloss, so. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. I just sent it to break. So. thanks for joining us. We are following breaking news out of Wisconsin today as a tornado, at least one confirmed tornado, has touched down near Appleton, Wisconsin. So we're getting pictures in of downed trees, downed power lines, destroyed homes. We are also learning that power is out to thousands of people in that area. Here's some photos that we're getting in. Some areas look worse than other areas. This all happened in Winnebago County, which is about 90 miles northwest of Wisconsin. As we did get confirmed that there was at least one tornado, so an extremely dangerous tornado, hit around the noon hour, according to the National Weather Service. So it prompted the agency to issue a particularly dangerous situation tornado warning, the second highest level warning. And I'm sure as the day goes on, we'll be getting firsthand accounts from individuals who lived through that warning. We still do not have any reports of injuries or possible fatalities. All we know at this point is that there was a confirmed tornado. We do not know what level in the Appleton area of Wisconsin. So check on your friends if you've got family in that area. We also have been updating you on the condition of the wildfires up in northern Minnesota. So continuing good news out of northeastern Minnesota, despite the fact that more than 72,000 acres have now burned, there is sign of progress. So some evacuation orders have now been scaled back as the conditions improve. Many people were allowed back into their homes last night, and then others were taken out of that go zone, and they have leveled back the ready and the set. So those who were in the set status, many of them have now been moved to ready. So that's all good news. The Superior National Forest has also opened select Boundary Waters entry points for day use, and officials say they hope to resume limited overnight camping, hopefully starting later this week. And we, of course, will keep you updated on all of that. But officials, of course, warning that this dry, hot weather, the return of the heat, could be a hindrance in their firefighting efforts. All right, and a Minnesota man accused of making online threats against ICE agents pleaded not guilty on all counts during his first court appearance this morning here in Minnesota. Federal prosecutors say 37-year-old Kyle Wagner posted videos and messages encouraging people to target immigration agents and allegedly shared the name and address of a pro-ICE individual online. Wagner remains in federal custody. He was previously being held in Michigan. The judge today asked that he be moved to Minnesota, and he faces multiple federal charges. The future of a proposed data center in Inver Grove Heights is back before the city council tonight. Members will review an independent consultant's recommendation on whether a resident petition warrants a full environmental review. The proposed project is already on hold under a one-year city moratorium, which was approved last night after the community spoke out against this data center due to concerns over noise, water use, and other potential impacts. Well, like I mentioned, the heat got turned back up here in Minnesota. Another day of dangerous heat and humidity. A heat advisory remains in effect until 8 p.m. tonight with temperatures in the 90s, the heat index reaching into the hundreds. We're going to have Ian Leonard on at 4 o'clock to talk all about it. And it comes after yesterday marked the hottest day of the year on record so far in the Twin Cities. And today's humidity ranks among the highest the metro has seen in 15 years. Producer Kara Savage, I heard one of our meteorologists call it air you can wear, and man, could you wear that air this morning.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's gotten a little better outside, but this was humidity that you think of when you think of like Louisiana or Florida in August.
Absolutely.
Thick humidity.
It's just completely unbearable.
I was a little surprised. So my son is doing a flag football camp this week, and 3 hours they were outside in this.
I can't imagine. That's just disgusting.
If I was the one who dropped him off and picked him up, I would have probably laid in to the coach because there is a gym right there inside the school. I'm not sure what they were thinking, but I can tell you that my son has now been pumped full of electrolytes by my direction. Got some nice long breaks in the air conditioning. But, like we see in individuals who are on the verge of heat exhaustion, he was red in the face and sweating after being outside in this for 3 hours. I just, if you can avoid it today, this is dangerous, dangerous, dangerous heat. So either find a water source or just stay inside.
Yeah, find some AC. Go to the library or something.
Yeah, we got some talkers on the menu today too, Kara.
Yes, we do.
Why don't you kick it off? Because I'll talk about any of them.
You'll talk about any of them.
You pick.
Okay, I'll start. One thing I saw today was that Waymo apparently is racking up the parking tickets.
See, I didn't know that Waymo's actually parked.
I mean, I'm assuming they park while they're waiting, or maybe sometimes they're waiting for too long and like.
But when I see them in like a Whole Foods parking lot. Are they getting the tickets? They're parking on the street now?
I mean, let's say you're picking someone up from a restaurant that doesn't necessarily have a. You're picking someone outside of a bar, picking someone up, a place that doesn't have a parking lot. I'm sure you're just pulling over. And, I mean, I see it with like Ubers, when an Uber will pick you up and you walk outside and they're, kind of illegally waiting with their hazards on. And then maybe they have to move because there's cars or whatever. Like, I don't really know if Waymos can assess that situation to their full extent.
Who pays the parking ticket when a Waymo
the
gets
company
a ticket?
does. So I saw that they've gotten around $9,000 worth in parking tickets, and they've paid off about $7,000 so far.
Okay. Does the Waymo that gets the parking ticket, does that work against him? Like, I'm wondering if they have to upgrade the software or something, like, ooh, this car has gotten a lot of parking tickets, so we're going to have to upgrade that software to tell it not to park illegally on the street. Because in my experience, I have ridden in Waymos. They're not like fully operational in Minnesota yet. They're being tested in Minnesota. I've ridden in them in other states. And my experience has been that they are extremely cautious. Like, if you're in a hurry to get to the airport, don't order a Waymo. That's my best piece of advice, because they go like below the speed limit. They are extra cautious.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe they're waiting for someone and then someone cancels a ride and they're just sitting there waiting for another ride, and that's kind of when it happens.
It's so funny. Like, can you imagine the traffic officer like writing a ticket on a Waymo?
That's what I don't understand.
The car is on. They're sitting there like watching. This car is on. It's got no driver. Like, I imagine that the parking ticket person is also very confused.
Right, because if anyone has seen the Waymo cars driving around the Twin Cities testing, they're doing all their tests and whatever. They're very clearly a Waymo.
And how long does the parking ticket remain under the windshield? Because there is no human behind the wheel. So, like, how long does the parking ticket sit under the windshield before someone rips it off?
So maybe they're also getting late fees?
Yeah, I'm guessing there's a lot of late fees.
Yeah. Well,
Waymo
I guess
prices are going to start to go up.
I don't understand why they can't have a different process of when Waymos are parked illegally. Can't they just call the company and be like, hey?
I don't know.
But I just thought that was unreal.
Driverless cars get parking tickets too, so you're not alone.
You're not alone.
Purple Rain, the musical, is heading to Broadway with a new director. Did you see it when it was here?
I didn't see it, no, but I know a lot of people who did. You did?
I did.
Okay.
I don't want to be too harsh, but I was unimpressed.
I have heard that from many people. I was surprised this morning when I read that it's going to Broadway, just because I haven't heard the greatest reviews.
I knew that was the goal, right? They wanted to open here in Minneapolis, and then the goal was always to go to Broadway. Once I saw it in Minneapolis, I was like, oh, girl, you don't have what it takes to be on Broadway. But, to be on Broadway, there's a variety of levels of Broadway, right? There's like the Jersey Boys, big main theater Broadway, and then there's like the low level, like entry level show that it's Broadway, where tickets are widely available. So, I mean, I guess good for them. They did get a new director, which does tell me that the feedback they got here in Minnesota was not great.
I'm sure maybe they got the feedback. They realized that it still had some potential. There was something there, and
I will say
had to
the
rework.
the main the lead female actress, I don't know if it's the same actors, maybe you can find out, but I don't know if it's the same actress, but the main female actress was incredible. She was the star of the show. The individual who played Prince looked just like him. I mean, the looks are right on, but I wasn't so, like, his acting wasn't great. The female lead was incredible all around. I thought she was the star of the show.
Right.
So the other guy, unfortunately, I think that they hired whoever looked most like Prince as opposed to who had the best singing and acting ability. I also heard that after the media night here in Minneapolis, where like all the media got to go for free, it was so long, like people here were like, I left because it was so long. So I heard after that show, they heard the feedback that it was long. I think it also got a pretty bad review in the Star Tribune. And so they cut a huge chunk of it out. So when I saw it, it wasn't as long, but it was still, it was I give it a C+.
That was kind of that was what I heard from people the most.
The music is great because it's all of Prince's songs. Yeah. It wasn't what it wasn't what I was expecting as far as like the story they chose out of his life. So I was a little disappointed, and it just focused on the lead up to him making it big. And I just would have liked to see maybe a little more of his success. I don't know.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I think maybe that's kind of like how the Michael Jackson movie is, where the family or whoever was like, was very like, this is what you can talk about, this is what you can't talk about.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Good luck to the new director in his Broadway debut. I hope it's better than when I saw it here in Minneapolis. I'm gonna get like hate mail for that. I don't know though. Maybe not.
That's okay.
I think
people don't mess around about Prince. So.
No, and I think the consensus was it wasn't that great. Reagan to be Raygun. What is that?
Courtney, okay. So if anyone remembers back in the 2024 Olympics, there was the breakdancing.
Oh,
yeah, it was called, I think it was just called breaking.
Oh.
So then this woman, Raygun, she went viral because it was like, she's from Australia. It looked like she just
it looked
showed up.
Never danced a day in her life.
Right, yes. So Netflix's sports documentary series, whatever, they're coming out with a new series of episodes. And there's 3 episodes. They start coming out August 25th. And the second episode is all about Raygun.
I'm so into this.
Yes.
I could watch that video 1,000,000 times.
I mean, people dressed up as her for Halloween that year. It was huge.
Let me tell you, the one positive that came out of that is she gave us regular dancers hope. Like, I'm willing to bust a move on a wedding floor dance floor thanks to her.
Okay. Are you going to do that?
I mean, I do it now because she inspired me. She said, if I can dance in the Olympics, anyone can dance on a wedding floor dance floor. What I would really like to know is Paul Milgate's take on this. Executive producer Paul Milgate is from Australia. She represented Australia, and everyone thought she was a huge joke. Like, people thought she was punking the Olympics.
Yes,
And
that
then she
is
came
not
out
back.
and said she was dead serious.
Breaking is not coming back to the Olympics.
Oh, it was a one and done?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, well, that's tragic. I hope that Raygun didn't ruin it for everyone. I mean, breakdancing was a little bit of a questionable entry.
Breaking is not returning to the Olympics for the 2028 Summer Games in Los Angeles. So I don't know if Raygun ruined that. But we went out with a bang.
Yeah, she sure did. And let me tell you, the amount of social media followers she probably got, she's probably getting rich off this. So she made a fool out of herself, and now she lives in a mansion. Yeah. So at the end of the day, she wins. The end.
And she went viral once. She's gonna go viral again once this Netflix documentary comes out.
I'm watching.
I'm gonna watch.
I'm there.
So
get my popcorn ready. I'm there for that. All right, Kara, thanks so much. Let's take it to a quick break. When we get back, we're going to continue talking about these tornadoes that have touched down in Wisconsin. We continue to follow the news out of Appleton, Wisconsin, with at least one devastating tornado touching down. We are also going to continue to talk about the wildfires up north as well. So stay right there. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Well, here at All Day, we've been continually impressed by the way that the northern Minnesota community has come together amid these wildfires that continue to burn. They've now burned more than 70,000 acres up in northeastern Minnesota and across the border into Canada. In Ely, a volunteer-run community response team came together as a result of these fires, transforming the lobby of the historic State Theater and becoming a central hub for individuals impacted by the wildfire. One of the founders, Emily Rose, joins me now. Emily, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so it sounds like your organization has run its course. It's played its purpose, and now today is the last in-person day at the historic State Theater. Talk to me about why you are closing up shop.
Yeah, we're closing up shop because we have things have opened back up in Ely. Ely is most certainly open. People have been able, that were evacuated, have now been able to go back to their homes, and the air quality is much better. So we're not really seeing a need for people to come in. And people have already been connected with a lot of the resources to learn about how these fires are impacting them and get all the updates. We will still do some pop-ups here and there, but we don't feel the need to be in person every single day, and we'll still have our resources available for people to pick up.
I'm curious how this group came to be.
Yeah, so someone who used to work for the Forest Service gave me a call and told me that a big problem during these big natural disasters is people wanting to donate. And some of those donations are really cool and really helpful, but it overwhelms the people trying to respond to these natural disasters. And so we created a group to try to actually fill needs that are coming in. So we have a form, we connect or get the needs, and then we're also getting a lot of people's offers and what they do. And so we connect people who have a need with someone who's willing to fulfill that offer. So that way we're not overwhelming resources with lots of donations and things. And then we were able to channel some of that energy towards more economic development and encouraging people to shop local. So when they would come in and tell us that they wanted to donate, we're like, how about you actually go eat out and shop in town at a local restaurant?
That's wonderful. What about the firefighting efforts? I'm curious if you have helped. I know that there's a lot of social media groups where, families of firefighters are like, they're coming up north, they need somewhere to stay. Were you at all instrumental in helping these firefighters find lodging?
Yeah, so one thing that we had learned is that the Forest Service themselves has everything covered. They have a logistics department, but some of the contracted firefighting groups needed a little bit of help just with local logistics. They have people to cover it, but normally they're far away, so they're not queued up to all of the different local options that are available. So we were able to connect we connected quite a few groups with some local housing options that we knew about. So, because we were talking with local hotel and resort owners continuously. So we were able to just plug them in when we knew there was an opening.
Where would you say the biggest need was in this fire response?
I honestly think the biggest need is supporting Ely itself and supporting our downtown and local outfitters and the resorts that have had to shut down. Really, the biggest need is in economics.
Interesting. What would your call be to anyone watching today? I know that we've been talking a lot about the smoke and the fires, and then it worries people. They're canceling reservations. Today, we're talking about, things opening back up again, access to the boundary waters starting to loosen, evacuations being lifted. What's the main message you want to get out to people?
My main message I want to get out is that Ely's open. We want you to come visit. The air quality has been really good. And if people want to support Ely from afar, we encourage you to see if any of the local stores that people love shopping at are open, to book a trip for the fall. The fall happens to be one of the greatest times to be up here because there's no bugs and it's slightly cooler, but the water's still really warm. So we encourage people just to engage with Ely into the later part of the summer.
Wonderful. So you've been handing out free N95 masks. That's been a big need for you guys. Air filters also. But I also read that you've been collecting boundary water themed postcards for the firefighters to send home. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so a lot of firefighters like to write letters to send home, and it's really cool if we can give them ones from our area to send home almost as a little memento.
And Governor Walz stopped by today. What was that visit like? What did you discuss with the governor?
Yeah, it was really great that he stopped by and thanked us for the work that we've been doing. When he stopped in, we talked a lot about how this is going to impact us going forward in the city of Ely and the surrounding area, and the need for an economic relief package.
I know that this group, this Ely Community Response Group, came together as a result of these wildfires. Do you see this group continuing? I know that you're closing your location at the Historic State Theater, so you're not accepting in-person drop-offs there after today. But do you see this group continuing into the future, and what role will it have?
Yeah, I see it continuing in some way into the future. I think that it will ebb and flow as there are needs in the community. So if some other thing comes up, I think that you will see this group pop up again. And it might continue on into the future in some sort of way where we can make sure we're educating people and preparing ahead for some of these future things that might happen in our community. But we have a meeting later this week really to discuss how this is going to go in the future.
Okay, well, you certainly have helped a lot of people, so there might be some good to do even when the wildfires are put out. What would you say the biggest need up there is still? Like, how can if people want to donate? I know you're closing the Historic State Theater in-person drop-off, but if people want to help, I know you said, like, come, patronize the businesses. If people want to help, what should they drop off? Where can they drop off? Where can they send money?
Yeah, if people want to send money, the United Way of Northern Minnesota, I'm going to butcher that, but they are collecting money that will go to an Ely specific economic relief. and they are collecting money to disperse to local businesses and individuals in need.
So just because your physical location is closing does not mean that the need has stopped. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, there's still a need. It's going to take us years probably to recover from even this 2-week closure for our businesses that are seasonal based, and this was a big part of their season.
Is there still a need for things like masks and air filters to be donated, or are you guys good with that?
We are definitely good on those. We have a bunch that we still can give out, and if the air quality gets bad again, you'll see us pop up and be able to hand those out again.
Wonderful. Emily Rose, one of the founders of the Ely Community Response Team. Thanks for joining the show.
Thank you.
All right. As we continue to follow the wildfires up north, this extreme heat today, and a tornado that is now confirmed touchdown in Wisconsin. We've got plenty to bring you ahead. We're also going to have Ian Leonard in just a couple minutes. So we're going to take a break, but stay right there. Welcome back to All Day Live. I'm Courtney Godfrey. We continue to follow news of a tornado out of Wisconsin. So I just learned that Governor Tony Evers says he has been briefed on the storms that made their way through northeast Wisconsin this afternoon, leaving behind, of course, a path of destruction. We've continually been showing you photos of that destruction. And he says he is ready to assist. In a tweet recently, he said, "I have been briefed on the storms making their way through Wisconsin. The state is ready to assist communities however we can." And he also said that he wanted to thank the emergency responders who are hitting the ground to help. So this is an ongoing story that we continue to cover. This is a tornado that hit Appleton and the Menasha area that prompted tornado warnings for that area and the area just to the south. So we'll continue looking at that. We're also, of course, updating you on the wildfire conditions up north. Governor Tim Walz was in Ely today, and he talked about the how he's considering calling a special legislative session, but he has emphasized that he has not yet made a final decision on that, and he wants to continue discussions with legislative leaders first. But this came after renewed calls for lawmakers to return to St. Paul to address all kinds of things like gun violence, school safety, but also this emergency order that went into place as a result of these wildfires. So let's take a listen to what Governor Walz had to say earlier today.
Our team is working on that, and we're starting to bring it up. I think they need a little bit of time. You've got folks that are out of town. They got jobs. They're doing things. That's why I'm telegraphing a bit here that the potential is there that we may need to do this. We were just mentioning today our general counsels. I said, does that mean the 11th or the 12th? What happens with this? What is the authority for the Guard that I can use executive orders to use them to a certain degree, but we don't want to break the coordination. So I think we're already thinking about it. We're in that planning stage. I haven't spoken directly with Senator House leadership other than just last week when I said, start thinking about this. I think we may need to come back to you. Again, this is just, I'm one leg of that negotiation stool. But I would just really encourage us. I know anytime we go to a special session, everybody wants to bring their bills up and everybody wants to talk about things. And we're in just to be candid with all of you, a bit of a precarious time where people are concerned about their elections, which they should be. That's what they're doing on that. That puts us right on primary day. It puts us right in the middle of that. So we're thinking about it now. We'll work it out. And that will be done, and there will be an agreement before we go in on what we're going to talk about, what we're going to do. But I will just say from my perspective, again, I think it's really important for us to keep this narrowly focused to the fires and the recovery of northern Minnesota and not try and add anything else to that special session. I don't think that would be appropriate, but that's a negotiation that will have to happen.
Tim Walz, who visited Ely this afternoon. He assessed the situation up there with the wildfires. He also made sure to stop and thank the first responders who have been working on those wildfires the last several weeks. Okay, lots to talk about. Wildfires, heat, humidity, and of course that tornado that hit northwestern Wisconsin today. Chief Meteorologist Ian Leonard joins us now. Let's start with the tornado because we've been following this throughout the afternoon. This hit during the lunch hour. What do you know?
So the first report, it went into the books as a tornado warning. First of all, a Doppler indicated tornado warning. You know, armchair quarterbacking is not something I like in my forecast. I don't like to do it. But when you look back at something like this, it should have gone into the books as a particularly dangerous situation tornado warning, which means it's on the ground, and it's very bad. First touchdown was about 11:57. Second touchdown. So, and this is really important. You're going to hear an awful lot of tornado reports from different parts of Appleton and I believe it's Menasha.
Yeah.
And you know, everywhere around that Oshkosh region. Tornado reports. Let's say this was a map or a county, this table, and a tornado touchdown here. There would be multiple people looking at it from multiple angles. All of those would be tornado reports. So you may hear 3, 4, 5, 6 tornado reports. In essence, it's all reporting the same tornado. But tornadoes don't tend to stay on the ground and race across a county. They tend to skip, which is why when you look at the damaged photos, you'll be like, wow, there's nothing left of that street. One street over, some homes have lost some roofing and siding. Next street over, there's nothing left. There is a degree of skipping, and that's what this storm did. The tornado touchdown around 11:57. The major touchdown in and around South Appleton, just touching the northern portion of the lake, was at around 12:15. As meteorologists, when we look at the pictures, and everyone will look at the pictures and start to surmise and say, oh, well, this is exactly what we think. There's one thing you'll see in most of the pictures, these very large oak trees. The entire canopy is gone. There'll be just a couple of shoots left over. The main trunk will be debarked. When we look at a debarked major tree, we start to think high scale EF3, probably EF4, which starts to spell catastrophic damage. This is the kind of thing where homes are scrubbed off their foundations and there's nothing left. And the pictures are jarring.
Stunning. I think we have some of those photos, so let's pop them up if we can.
So 12:15.
Yeah.
On a Monday. I mean, this isn't, you know, there's no time to have a tornado. There's no good time. There's no preferred time. 12:15, not a lot of people expect a tornado over the lunch hour. So you're going to see the cars are stacked and flipped. There's going to be thousands of pictures. I've already been posting some of the credited videos, and I think that's important too when we as media show the credited videos. Fully leafed trees act like sails. So the first thing the trees do is pull down the power lines. And secondary from there is the house damage and the airborne missiles. So now I've said this for years when I talk to kids. Let's say you're outside in a tornado warning. You got to get inside. You got to get low, right? We always say, stay low, stay safe. So you get low and you're like, oh my God, I forgot that. And the computer outside, they're on the picnic table. Don't worry about it. These can tend to become what we call airborne missiles. These are what are dangerous when you're outside, which is why we want you to stay low, stay safe. You get in a ditch, you get lower than the prevailing winds, and hopefully you can stay away from the fence boards that are being ripped off of the fences and the sheds and the shingles and everything that's flying around. That's what can injure people other than the tornado itself. This is a terrible day.
And we do not have injury reports as of right now, or potential fatalities. We should probably be learning that throughout the day. These are, we've seen a lot of these, Ian, where I saw it must have been a traffic cam where you couldn't even see the road. It looked almost black outside.
Rain-wrapped tornado, yeah.
Is this common where you might not see the actual tornado spinning, you just see black skies and pouring rain? They were reporting apple-sized hail.
Grapefruit is now what's come out.
Wow.
4-inch size hail, softball size hail. So there's really 3 types of tornadoes. One, in a rain-free base. You see those pictures and videos of, it's the Wizard of Oz.
Totally.
You can see this big, I hate to use the word beautiful, but they are, in essence, from afar when they're touching down in the middle of a field. I mean, you see them and you see the laminar flow. That's the really smooth sides of the condensation funnel. Then you get partially rain wrap where you're like, I think there's something. I think I saw something. And what you saw today was an occluded tornado. So it's completely rain wrapped. The more moisture you put into the atmosphere, the more particulate matter, the more dirt that's sucked up from the ground by the condensation funnel, all that's mixing in with the rain in the lowest levels of the atmosphere. You can't see anything. It's black.
So then how do they know?
Black.
How do they know that it's not just severe weather as opposed to a tornado?
That's a great idea. A great question. So
Well,
let's say
we know straight line winds can do severe
okay. So this
damage
is the Doppler radar beam. The Doppler radar beam does 5 scans. Does a complete scan, then it kicks up about 7 degrees. Another complete scan kicks up. So it's scanning the entirety of the storm before it resets down and continues to rotate through. We can see so Doppler radar is in essence the pitch that objects in the atmosphere make when they're approaching the radar or going away from the radar. Here's a perfect way to think about Doppler radar. You and I are standing on the side of the highway and a car goes meow. The pitch changes. That's the Doppler effect. So Doppler radar is able to intercept the hydrometeors, the things that are suspended in the atmosphere, and tell us whether they're moving toward the radar or away from. Then we take this is way in the weeds here. Then we take a 1 by 1 meter parcel of air and we look in there to see if there's that inward and outbound velocity. That's what we call gate-to-gate shear. That's a Doppler indicated tornado. For years, we weren't able to see if that was in contact with the ground. And the definition of a tornado is a violently rotating column of air in contact with the ground. Now, instead of just one beam, we have 2 beams. We work on 2 axes. So we can actually see the debris that is kicked up once that gate-to-gate shear, that violently rotating column of air, has touched down. We can actually see the suspended debris. That's how we know, without having eyes on the storm, there's a 99% probability that there's a tornado on the ground right there. I know I got into the weeds here.
No, because
this is what we do as meteorologists.
I saw Fox Weather was showing radar of it, and they said that that's how you know where the tornado is, because it was like this blue dot in the middle of severe weather radar, and then there was this blue dot in the middle.
So we call it debris ball.
Wow.
That's we can actually see different sizes of debris suspended in the air. That's how good radar is now. We still need eyes on the ground. Volunteer fire departments and law enforcement, they head out during tornado watches to certain parts of counties to be our eyes and literally our ears, so that we can coordinate between Doppler radar and between what people are actually seeing. It's a terrible day. for parts of Wisconsin. It's
Yeah,
just terrible.
As this day goes on, we'll get a better idea of what the damage is. And back here in Minnesota, though, we are dealing with extreme heat.
It's too much.
We are not just talking high temperatures. We are talking sweltering heat today.
So overnight, in history, and that's a big thing. People go, "Wow, how long have we been keeping them records?"
On this day in history.
We have history. Weather history goes back to the late 1800s here at Fort Snelling. So in recorded weather history, in the Twin Cities, we have had dew points higher than 80 degrees and this is taking every time it's happened and added together around 28 hours. Overnight, we did it again. The dew point was 81, and people go, "Well, that means it's really humid." So
air you can wear.
Air you can wear, and it's like breathing cotton ball. I like that air you can wear. You're like cutting the air before you can walk through it. So record dew points overnight. This is one of those mornings where I wake up and your windows are sweating.
They were.
And you're looking outside going, "What is going?" And then you step outside and it hits you like a wham.
Felt like Louisiana.
It was nasty.
You walked outside, you're like, "Am I in the bayou?"
Yeah, this is stupid hot. This is what I've been calling it, stupid hot. So now here's the thing. Really weak cold front has slid through in the last few hours. So if you go out when you're done your big show here, and you go out to your waiting limousine,
okay,
you'll feel it. It'll still be hot. I mean, it's 95 degrees right now, but the dew points have dropped down into the 60s. And the translation there is it's hot, but it's not that stifling, just crippling humidity. It's not that anymore.
What's crazy, my son had flag football camp. He's in first grade. They kept it outside.
Yeah.
What?
Listen, I'm the worst guy to talk to about this. When I was a soccer coach for my daughter's team, we were at a tournament, and the heat index was 103. And I said, "This is ridiculous. I know what the standards are, and you're right at the standard to cancel the tournament." And they're like, "Yeah, we think we're going to play." And I said, "Okay, we're leaving."
Wow.
And a bunch of other teams go, "I mean, my daughter was 8.
Yeah.
What is the point?" I said, "We're leaving. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but it's not safe anymore for these little kids."
Let me tell you, if I was the one who did the drop off today, it would have been, "You're moving inside, right?
Yeah,
and if you're not, I'm taking my kid home." And I'm not very, I'm not
No,
overprotective,
and I'm not either. But there are times when weather gets it's pointless. These are kids playing kids games. Let's make sure we protect them. It's Vikings training camp starting on Wednesday. You don't think they're going to be protective of their players? And it's really, really important. The very young, the very old, and the very hairy. They all need our extra attention. We are the gatekeepers. We are our own greatest health advocates. And if you're outside and you don't feel great and you get a little dizzy and you think, then you need to stop what you're doing. And I know that there are people who have to be outside because that's where they work. But these are professionals, and they get pretty good at trying to figure out how their body works. If you're a 13-year-old or a 93-year-old, maybe you're not so good at figuring it out.
Yeah, we were at the Twins game yesterday, and we were doing all we could. We were feeding the kids electrolytes and all that, and my son said, "I don't feel so good." And that's the moment that we just took the bottle of water and dumped it all over him.
Boosh, there you go.
He magically felt great.
Because he loved it. It was great. I was at the baseball game and my mom poured water all over me.
We were all soaked, because then he was pouring it on us. We're all soaking wet.
That's great.
But is the heat going to stick around, or are we going to turn it down a bit?
Okay, and this is one of my weather headlines tonight. The heat sticks. The heat wave continues all the way till Thursday. The humidity begins to fade off. We're still talking high temperatures of 90 degrees plus tomorrow, Wednesday, even into the day Thursday. Thursday, maybe a scattered thunderstorm at night. By Friday, look, we need the rain. And I think we have a pretty good chance. So atmosphere is loaded with moisture. That's the humidity. So when we look at the charts, there's something called PWatts. It's the available amount of moisture should you be able to squeeze it out if something were to trigger the atmosphere to rain. And the PWatts will be at about 1.5 inches on Friday. That's not to say we'll get that much rain. I think we might get a half inch, and man, we are in desperate need of rain. Then we go a little bit cooler for a couple of days. I love this. It'll be cooler, high of about 82. Really cool, really cool. And then right back into the 90s next week. It's a ripping summer.
But we do like to point out, yes, yesterday was the hottest day of the year so far. July is hot. It's always hot.
July is, what's happening right now? July is Julying.
Yes.
You know, and this is also the kind of weather that in mid-January, I'm one of those people, you're one of those people, I can't wait till it gets hot this summer. This is crazy. And then it gets hot and you're like, oh, it's too hot. Right? So it's, I mean, if this is the needle for Minnesotans in weather, it's constantly going back. It's too cold, it's too hot, it's too cold, it's too hot. And they're somewhere in that needle area right there. That's my job.
Well, if a Minnesotan isn't complaining about the weather, then it's an odd day. You know, they love to complain about the weather. Too hot, too cold. I mean, you can't make them happy.
That's why I got a job.
It keeps you employed, doesn't it? All right, Chief Meteorologist Ian Leonard, I so appreciate your insight.
Yeah, I probably got you far into the weeds with Doppler and everything like that. But if you ever want to do like a 20, I'll make diagrams, and people will go, generally speaking, when we talk like this on the air, people go, I didn't know that.
No,
and so,
it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always up for I didn't know that segment. You let me know.
Okay. Well, I didn't know why.
We're just planning it right now. Talk amongst yourselves.
Book it. You're on the calendar. Next Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Sounds good.
All right.
Chief Meteorologist Ian Leonard, there is no one like you, my friend, and we appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you, Courtney.
He'll be back during the 5 o'clock newscast, and we will have updates throughout the night with news about these tornadoes as we will continue to get damage reports and potential injury and hopefully no fatalities. But we'll have all that in our later newscasts. So we're going to go to a break right now. Stay right there. Welcome back. Starting August 1st, a new law aimed at stopping AI-generated fake nude images takes effect. The law bans websites and apps from allowing users to create nudified images without consent, and violators could face civil penalties of up to $500,000. Joining me now to talk about this topic is Victoria Pickering from the Minnesota Coalition Against Sexual Violence. Victoria, thanks so much for joining the show.
Thank you for having me, Courtney.
So walk me through this law. What is this new law taking effect and what will it do?
Yeah, so the law that goes into effect on August 1 will it will act in addition to existing state law that criminalize this type of technology-based abuse, and it will actually make it illegal for folks to develop this sort of software and make it available to folks here in Minnesota. So this criminalizes not only the distribution of these sorts of what are called, AI nudification or deepfake nudes, but it actually says you can't develop or advertise or offer a product or a service that allows people to do this here in the state of Minnesota.
Okay, so how easy is it to create one of these AI images?
Unfortunately, reports show that it is quite easy for people who are wanting to engage in this type of harm to access the technology they need to do so quickly and easily. We've seen multiple instances of programs being advertised openly online, on social media. We've seen instances of young people and children having access to this technology. So unfortunately, while it is illegal to create AI images of people without their consent and to distribute though, it is unfortunately very easy for people to get access to the technology to do these sorts of things.
So scary. What led lawmakers to actually want to act on this? Was there a specific case that drew their attention to this issue?
So I want to give credit where credit is due, that there were some very hardworking advocates, very hardworking lawmakers who made this happen, and that there were also a lot of victims and survivors at the center of this. And so the people who have been impacted and harmed by this sort of technology facilitated abuse in the past have bravely come out and spoken about those experiences and advocated on their own behalf and on behalf of other victims and survivors in the state, and worked closely with lawmakers to ensure that something like this passes and goes into effect.
Who are most commonly victimized by this trend of nudifying photos? Are we talking children, teens, adults?
Yeah, so there's not a lot of research on the exact demographics of the victims, but what's really interesting is the CDC regularly does research on victimization, specifically sexual violence and intimate partner violence. And so they're one of the main sources of information about this type of harm. And for the first time ever in the last report that they put out on this topic, they actually included questions and data about technology-based abuses. And so they broke it down by gender of victims, and I'll just share the most recent data with you on that. So technology facilitated sexual violence, and that's defined as any unwanted sexual experiences involving technology, including unwanted sexually explicit messages or images without the person's consent. The research showed that 10% of adult women and 7% of adult men experienced that in the last 12 months.
Wow.
So we're talking significant numbers of folks. I would also like to point out that this is based on people self-identifying that they've gone through this. And we know one of the scariest things about this type of harm is that often victim survivors don't know about it right away. So this is done without their consent, often without their knowledge, and they may not find out until days, weeks, or years later when those images surface or when somebody notifies them about the images.
So I'm curious, does this law put anything in place to stop the software from actually creating the images? Obviously, there's penalties in place if an individual makes these images, but what about, like, I'm thinking, the major artificial intelligence companies? Is there any onus on those companies to make sure that these images can't be made?
Yes, so that's exactly what this law is focused on. It's letting companies know that it's actually their responsibility if the technology they develop can be used in this way. So there are lots of companies that have said that they have banned this type of technology from their platforms, although we do know that studies show that they're still widely available even on those platforms that have banned them. But this says you are responsible if your technology is used in this way. You're responsible if it's advertised for this purpose, or if you're selling other forms of technology on your website that allow people to do this. And then it also creates with it civil responsibilities for that. So the Attorney General's office can actually fine companies up to $500,000 per violation of this law if their technology is being used in this way, if they don't stop it from being used in this way. And then it also allows the victims in these cases to additionally sue those companies for this violation of law as well.
How hard is it for law enforcement to prove that an image was AI generated? I mean, this technology has become so good.
Yeah.
How do these law enforcement agencies who are now tasked with enforcing this law, how will they be able to determine that the images are fake?
Yeah, so I definitely don't want to ever present myself as an expert on AI technology because I'm not. But I will say, you know, part of this is that it's not just a criminal act to create these types of images, but it's also something that can result in civil penalties as well. And that's the focus of this particular law. So it may not always be law enforcement. Folks may have to engage other experts on these topics. But we do know that law enforcement are trying to keep up with the new technology. Unfortunately, we know that where new technology is developed, people find a way to cause harm with that technology. And so we, you know, are really supporting folks in making sure that they have adequate training on these topics. But also, I know here in Minnesota, the BCA has folks who specialize in technology forms of abuse. And so I would encourage local law enforcement agencies, if they're curious about what resources are available for them related to these types of cases, to reach out to the BCA and find out what's available through them.
You know, when I think about kids and teens who are dealing with this, is there any advice you can give to parents who, you know, want to talk to their kids about this?
Absolutely. So as young people are engaging with technology at unprecedented levels, I think it's just as important for parents to be talking to their children about technology facilitated abuse, things like sexual coercion online, AI notification, threats to disseminate images, whether those are actual images or deepfake images, in the same way that we should be talking to young people about bodily autonomy and consent. We should be talking to them about it in this technology-based context. The biggest bit of advice I have to parents is try your absolute hardest to not engage in this in a way that makes young people feel ashamed. Let them know that if somebody creates an image of their body or someone releases an image of their body, that is not their fault. They didn't do anything wrong that caused it. And there are people who can support them and help them through the process of healing in the aftermath. I would always encourage young people to know that there are local advocates, sexual assault centers, child advocacy centers in their communities that can support them and their families if something like this happens to them. And there are also professionals who they can get connected with, who there are laws in place that help people get these images taken down if they're posted online.
Do you see this law changing behavior, or is this more recourse for victims?
You know, I think it's a little bit of both. I think that the recourse is really, really important. We talk about accountability as one of those key pillars in the work that we're trying to do to address sexual violence and other forms of violence in our communities. So it's not just about making sure that victim survivors have the access to healing and that they need, but also that we hold folks accountable who contribute to these types of harm. And I also, when you ask about, is it preventative in nature, essentially? I mean, I hope so. I hope that technology companies and corporations that are engaged in this space take this seriously and recognize that the state just made it very clear and that this is not allowed here in Minnesota, and that there will be consequences if folks are marketing and developing technology or offering services that allow people to conduct this type of harm.
So terrifying, just horrible. Feel so bad for the victims that have been through this. Victoria Pickering, thank you so much for joining the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Victoria is with the Minnesota Coalition Against Sexual Violence. And again, August 1st is when that new law goes into effect, which will stop AI-generated fake nude images. So there will be penalties for anyone who makes these images, and also penalties for the companies that allow these images to be made. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. Sometimes it takes 3 tries to get the mic to turn on.
We're still working out some things,
It's okay. Jim Rich joins us now, sports director here at Fox 9. Jim, were you able to take in any golf over the weekend at the 3M Open?
I watched via my television set. It was just logistically tough to get there for being here and being there at the same time.
Well, and hot.
It's a little distance.
Way better watching it in the air conditioning.
I'm sure if you were there, corporate tent. Corporate tent Courtney would have been your nickname up there.
Don't hate it, Jim. Don't hate it. I do love a corporate tent. Anyway, 21-year-old wins the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Jackson Koiven comes in here, just his 3rd professional tournament, and he holds off Scotty Scheffler.
It's incredible.
It was and he tore up the course. He set a new course record for the 3M Open, 25 under par. I mean,
I'll never know it.
Scotty Scheffler shoots a 63 on the final day, and he can't close the gap. A 63. I mean, it was the course is not made for the pros. They can tear it apart, and we see it year after year. And they've tried to make it tougher. They've grown the rough, but there's just not the distance for these guys. And so they throw up scores like that. I mean, they had a guy, Kim, on Saturday, shot a 59.
Come on.
Yes.
Come on. So what, they're shooting a 2 on a par 5?
Yes, yes.
That's incredible.
Consistently. Like, these guys are going the whole tournament with nearly not a bogey. Everything's either par, birdie, or eagle.
Wow.
So it's great. I mean, if you love to see low scores, the 3M is the place to go.
And I heard there were just crowds following Scotty Scheffler.
Well, and that's the key. And that's kudos to Hollis Cavner, how he convinces these guys to get here. You've met Hollis, you know him. I mean, he is a showman. He's a negotiator. He wheels and deals with these players. You do this, you come here, I'll get you this. I'll get you this over here. I'll get your family here. Takes care of the players. They love him. For anyone to convince the #1 player in the world who just played in the British Open the week before, flies back to play in this tournament here, is astonishing.
Yeah.
And when you have the star players, Minnesota golf fans turn out. And even though it was 100 degrees yesterday, they were all out there following Scotty around, hoping to see him run that kid down. But Jackson held it together.
Just
and
incredible.
Gets the win.
Congratulations to him. Incredible day for him. Speaking of 100 degrees, the Twins were playing in the heat yesterday. Man, oh man. I was actually there, Jim. Stadium
in a suite there.
Was not in an air-conditioned suite, was with the people in the stands, did purposely buy tickets in a shaded section.
Good job.
Wow, it was hot. I can't imagine for the players, but the good news is they pulled it off against the A's. Oakland A's, Las Vegas A's, what are we just calling them, the A's right now?
The Athletics, that's all we call them right now. They're the Wandering Athletics.
They have no home right now, and they got their butts whooped. So good news for the Twins.
Yes, it is, because this homestand is very critical if they want to make a push, to push management to say, all right, we're here. You said you'd help us. You'd go out and get us some more talent if we stay within striking distance. And they're one game out of a wild card playoff spot right now after that win yesterday. Kansas City comes in starting tomorrow. They're another team that's struggling, so there's a chance there to get some more wins to keep the pressure on. By the way, Wednesday's game is on Fox 9 against Kansas City. And so, yeah, they're knocking on the door, so hopefully they keep it tight going into next Monday's trading deadline.
I was going to say, also knocking on the door, the trade deadline. So what are you thinking they're going to do? What are the Pohlads going to do? What's their next move?
Well, part of the problem is that there are a ton of teams that are also in the mix. There are more buyers than sellers. With the expanded playoffs now, 3 wild card teams, so you have more teams in. Plus, the American League is not very good this year, so a lot of teams are in it. I would think you would see the Twins trade away a piece to help bolster the current team, and I think that target may be Ryan Jeffers.
Ooh, okay.
I think that Jeffers is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. He's put up huge numbers this year. Yeah. He's delivering again now back from the broken hand in his bone. I think he will command a lot of money, $20 million next season. And we know the Twins' appetite for signing deals like that. So I think he may be the key cog. And another catcher that was also going to be on the market just got injured, so he's unavailable. So now the price for Ryan will go up. So that's good. So that means the Twins can get more back. The Yankees are looking for catching help right now. We'll see what they do here in that situation. But other than that, you don't want to give away Colin Culpepper. You don't want to give Walker Jenkins, the young stars that are in the system right now, to make a run here. So you could use a piece like that and flip Ryan, and you may get some pretty good pieces back in return.
Okay. We got Vikings training camp also this week. So you guys will be in Eagan tomorrow for the training camp, right?
Tomorrow the head coach speaks and the general manager speaks. They give us their state of the franchise, and there's not a lot on the plate for Kevin O'Connell.
The first question out of the gate when the press gets to ask.
What do you think? How's
Who's
the
the
quarterbacks look? Exactly. And the pressure's on O'Connell not only to get that right, but he's entering year 5, and the last guy to win a Vikings playoff game was this guy.
Mike Zimmer.
Yes.
Wow.
So there's not a lot of coaches that get 5 years, and now there's a new general manager. If this team flounders and doesn't put together a playoff team and then win a game, it may be over. So there is so much at stake. This is going to be the most intense Vikings training camp in a long, long time, because obviously you got the quarterbacks, J.J. Kyler, Carson Wentz, Max Brosmer. You got that to sort out. You also got to figure out if Harrison Smith is there. That's the first thing everybody will be looking for. Is 22 here? Hello? Are you here or not? And then they got to figure out the running game.
If he's not there, he's out, right? Because everybody
Well,
has
he can show up later. You can always get yourself in later. He can show up week 1 and say, I'm in, and the Vikings would take him.
But it's required training camp, right?
Oh, yeah, but they'll not worry about the fine. So Harrison knows everything he needs to know. There's not anything he's going to learn in training camp that will make him a better player.
Okay.
He's as smart as Flores right now with all the knowledge he has in his head.
Well, can't wait to see what happens. In other news today, out of Minnesota sports, tragic day. I'm sure you knew this individual personally. John Anderson passed away, the head coach for the Gophers baseball team, head coach for 30 years?
43 years.
40 years? Wow.
He was named head coach at age 26.
He played in the major leagues, right?
No, he never got there. That's why he became a coach for the Gophers. That's what his dream was. Grew up on the Iron Range, Nashwauk, came down. Most people on the Iron Range play hockey. John's love was baseball. Came here, wanted to be a star player for the Gophers, got hurt, but the coaching staff saw something in him that made them say, you know what? You know a lot about this. We want you here. And so they brought him on, stayed on. The previous coach retired, and they gave it to John at age 26, and he was there for 43 years. So he was in the university system, I believe, for over 50 years, but just a remarkable human being. That's why he lasted 50 years. Yes, he won games. He was the all-time winningest coach in Big Ten baseball history, got the team to the NCAA tournaments, but what everybody is talking about is how he was such a father to all of these players. And it's hundreds, if not thousands of players went through his programs. He had major leaguers. Paul Molitor played for him, Glenn Perkins, tons of guys gone through his program. But his whole goal was it was more important to him to make you a better person than a ball player.
Wow.
And just a humble guy, didn't ask for anything. You know, and northern teams usually don't have much success in baseball just because of the weather, right? Yeah. Kids, if you're a good ball player, you're going to go down south where you can play more. But he held his own throughout those years, and it's really, really a very tough loss. I mean, the Twins worked with him, helped him with his program. They would play him down at spring training as a favor to John just because they saw what he did there.
Wow. And he coached. I mean, he was there until a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, I think 2024 he retired. So it's a couple of years ago. I remember at spring training, we were there. They played the first game, and I said, John, would you like to do a live shot? It's around 5 o'clock. Your game still starts at 5. And he goes, that's fine. Come on in the dugout. We'll just do it in there. So he invited us into the dugout, and I told the Twins PR people that's where we're headed. So if you see us going down there, is it okay? And they're like, he's going to do an interview during the middle of the game? And I said, yeah. And they said, oh, okay. Yeah, well, go ahead. And then we did that. And then all of a sudden the PR guy goes, your next hit, you want to go do Rocco? We went and told Rocco, John's doing it. You want to be on Fox? And he goes, well, yeah, let's do it if John's doing it. So then we were in there and did Rocco.
John got you the in.
He did. He helped me a lot, no doubt. A great man. It's really stunning that he's not here with us anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry for your loss. Sounds
like I mean, he did so much for the university. He did so much for the state. He did so much for baseball. And it's tough to see him gone.
All right. Jim Rich, really appreciate you joining us. We went all over the place today, didn't we?
We're buzzing around. There's a lot going on. Supposedly these are the dead days of summer. Not around here. You got the Lynx. They're sitting on top in first place. They just came back from the All-Star break. We talked to them today. You'll hear that coming up at 5, but they got the best record, and now they're gunning for that top playoff spot. And Nafisa Collier's back, so this team is going to be.
Man, let me tell you, they were already like 26-5, and then they got Nafisa back. It's like, come on, it's like unfair. It's unfair how good they are, but we like it.
Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it.
All right, Jim Rich, sports director. You can see him, like he said, just in about 20 minutes here on the 5 o'clock news. We're going to go to break. Thanks, Jim, for joining us. We'll be right back. Bye. Welcome back. Well, in just about 2 weeks, Minnesotans will head to the polls and cast their vote in the primary elections. One of the biggest races on the ballot is the fight for the U.S. Senate seat. And the race between the Democrats, Angie Craig, and Peggy Flanagan is heating up. We talked to our political contributor, Blois Olson, about it earlier today. Here's that conversation. Do you think that this debate changed the trajectory at this of this race at all with their performance today?
You know, I think this is really a day-by-day situation. Sometimes it's even an hour-by-hour situation. So you look at, news and events over the weekend, and then you look this morning, Gwen Walz endorsed Angie Craig right before this debate. And so I think both campaigns are looking for every little edge they can get to keep people's attention on the race, to look at it. A poll came out last week, showed that the race is basically a dead heat, 40% with, 20% undecided. So how that kind of starts to play out here will be based on last minute deciders. That's the challenge with the primary, is news of the day can flip somebody within these last 2 weeks pretty quickly.
Okay, good news is I can now hear you, which is promising. I did want to ask you about the Gwen Walz endorsement. So the First Lady put her weight behind Congresswoman Angie Craig. The governor has said he's not going to weigh in here. Do you think that getting his wife to support Angie Craig, does that give Angie any bit of an edge?
Look, Tim Walz and Gwen Walz are pretty popular within the DFL. I think there's a couple angles you can take on this. A couple of weeks ago, Angie Craig posted a picture with Gus Walz, the governor, and Gwen's son. That was not accidental, right? Nothing's accidental at this point in these campaigns. So I think it will signal to Walz supporters that even after serving for 7+ years, that Peggy Flanagan is not favored by Gwen Walz, which implies that, you know, Tim Walz is not in favor of it either. I think there's still a chance that Governor Walz will lean in on this race in the closing weeks. One of the things that this raises that I'm going to write about for tomorrow morning's Morning Take is to really kind of starts to show the relationship between the governor and the lieutenant governor. We've heard it was strained. Just a few weeks ago on the radio, Lieutenant Governor Flanagan said, there's no drama here, there's nothing here. But the reality is that, you know, she announced to Senate very quickly, boxed Walz out of the race. That was right after he ran for vice president. And there is definitely a fissure in their relationship. She has been, the lieutenant governor through all this fraud. She doesn't acknowledge that she had a direct role in trying to fix it. And so I do think this is a lingering issue that we'll hear more about in the next 2 weeks.
Let's talk about the fraud, because Angie Craig, Congresswoman Angie Craig, is tying the lieutenant governor to the fraud issue. She says that, the Republicans are just going to go to town on her because they're going to link her as the second in command when all of this fraud was taking place. How do you think that bodes for Flanagan?
Look, fraud is by 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 the number one issue on voters' minds in every poll, including our own Fluence internal polls. The next nearest issue is at 15% or 20%, and that's healthcare. And so Minnesota voters are going to be talking about fraud all fall, and Republicans on every race are going to amplify it as much as possible. At some point, Peggy Flanagan's going to have a better answer than, we're all against fraud, Republicans are making everything about fraud. People have looked at this issue for well over 3 years and said, what was done? Was there enough done? Why does it keep coming up? And it's really like the gum that the DFL can't get off their shoe.
I forget the wording you used just a couple minutes ago, but nothing is by mistake at this point in the campaign, something along those lines. So I want to ask you about what's happened in recent days with State Senator John Hoffman coming forward and saying that Congresswoman Angie Craig had a surrogate come to the hospital when he was in the ICU recovering from the assassination attempt and asked for his support for her campaign. These are claims that Congresswoman Craig's team has vehemently denied. Just walk me through what has gone on the last couple of days, these claims, and if they actually, you believe, will influence people's vote.
Well, Courtney, first, as always, I want to disclaim that I represent the Hoffman family on issues related to their legal case and their family, not the senator himself. I don't handle any political issues for the senator. I think the timeline and if it was laid out between text messages, et cetera, would show that this wasn't immediately after Senator Hoffman was shot. This is, I think, more of one sense of what you were asking for versus offering support was. But I do think the issue kind of roiled up the race over the weekend, got a little, probably a little more emotional and polarizing than even Senator Hoffman meant it to be. And so we'll watch to see how it plays out. I think what you have to understand is the who is going to vote in this primary. Older voters usually vote in primaries. Labor usually votes in a Democratic primary. And labor is split in this race between, blue collar unions and more service unions. So you'll watch to see kind of how those groups play out. But I do think this will be the highest turnout ever in a Minnesota primary and probably reach over 1 million voters on primary day, and we've never done that in a primary before.
This race has been framed as a battle between the progressive wing and the moderate wing of the Democratic Party. Do you think that the outcome of this race will speak to where the Democratic Party is going here in Minnesota and nationally?
Yes, I do think this is a bellwether for Minnesota. It's another bellwether in the nation. We've seen these kind of races in Maine, in Texas. We're seeing it play out in Michigan. We've seen it in New York and Colorado as well. So I do think this is a bellwether of the far left versus a more progressive, moderate Democrat. And most activists do lean further left than the primary voter.
I am curious, though, if you think voters, especially in a primary, if they're going to vote on ideology or if they're going to vote on who they think can win in November.
It is, I would say that most people in the Democratic primary are going to vote for who they think will win. The difference is, can Peggy Flanagan get out the younger, more progressive voters that have been energized since Operation Metro Surge? That's the calculus. When I look at the modeling and look at the numbers that we're doing, Peggy Flanagan's going to have to break the formula that worked with Tim Walz and Mark Dayton to beat endorsed candidates. So she's going to have to break the formula, which is possible with Democrats being so energized against Trump.
Angie Craig has faced criticism, as standing U.S. politicians will, on her past votes. She's especially been called out for voting with Tom Emmer and Donald Trump on a few occasions. She, of course, represents I don't know if it's still considered a swing district, but it has in the past at least been considered a district that is up. A purple district. Do you think that those votes are going to be hard for her to explain on the campaign trail? And do you think they hinder her when it comes to winning over Democratic voters?
I think anybody who's really paid close attention to the race has already made up their mind about those votes, and they've probably decided whether or not they're going to side with Craig or Flanagan. I think in these last 2 weeks, it's really going to be about momentum and energy. And you've seen big names come in and rally for Peggy Flanagan, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. I think the real question is, what is the end game? What is the close, as they say in the campaign, for Angie Craig? If she closes strong with Gwen Walz's endorsement, she's endorsed by Dean Phillips and others. If they come back and make the case for her, I think, it's more likely that she can close any gap of energy here with Lieutenant Governor Flanagan.
Now, I know you said that the relationship between Lieutenant Governor Flanagan and Governor Walz is presumably strained. We don't know for sure. No one's confirmed. But, reading the tea leaves. But do you think that her ties to Walz hurt her a little bit, or do you think it actually helps her being tied to the governor?
Well, I think that's why she has the platform she has, because she's been the lieutenant governor. So I think that did launch her campaign. And I think that it may hurt her in a general. But Governor Walz is still very popular amongst Democrats and Democratic voters. So I don't think it's going to hurt or help anybody. I think it's one of those things. It's the shiny object of the day that Gwen Walz endorsed Angie Craig. And tomorrow there might be a different shiny object in the race that, maybe Peggy Flanagan rolls up. So this is the final stretch here, Courtney, is where you just don't know what's coming. That makes both the campaign fun to cover, but also you just never know, and it's unexpected in how people are even tuning in. And frankly, I think people have not been as tuned into this primary. I think they've been going about their summer pretty rigorously, and they will only tune in the next 2 weeks.
What about the issue of immigration? Obviously, we saw, Operation Metro Surge here in the Twin Cities. Minnesota really became the epicenter for, these ICE crackdowns. How much do you think immigration law will play a role in this race?
Immigration is a big issue. I think it's a big issue. Operation Metro Surge, tied to it, is the energizing issue. If Metro Surge doesn't happen, I think this race is a very different race. And so today during the debate, they argued immigration policy. It's very clear that, Representative Craig has had to vote on these issues in Congress. Lieutenant Governor Flanagan didn't give any specifics on her plan, but she did say, look, we need a system, we need closed borders, et cetera. Immigration as an issue, I think, will remain an issue in the midterm, but I don't think it's as serious as it was 2 years ago when it was one of the center points of the president's campaign.
Okay, so when we move into the general election, whoever the candidate will be for the Democrats, whoever the candidate will be for the Republicans, I mean, it seems to me that in the state of Minnesota right now, a Republican can't win. But I want to know, I'm curious what you think for the general election. I mean, does a Republican have a chance in this race?
You know, Courtney, that's why we play the game, as they like to say. I think, you know, Republicans haven't won statewide in 20 years, but fraud is a major issue for the majority of Minnesota voters. They are looking at that. Healthcare is another one. The economy is another one. And I think that's where you're looking for it. Republicans also want to break their tradition of their endorsed candidates getting through the primary. Just like I said before, that Peggy Flanagan has to break the cycle of non-endorsed candidates winning statewide primaries. Michelle Tafoya or Royce White would have to break the formula of endorsed Republicans getting through. But there's a lot of Republicans that want to show that is the case. And I think we've never seen a race like we're going to see if it is, you know, a race between you know, Michelle Tafoya and either Angie Craig or Peggy Flanagan will be there. Tafoya leads in some of the polls, but again, Adam Schwarzy, the endorsed candidate, also has a good profile. And that is where turnout and energy will matter the most. But look, I think that, I've said this before, I think Republicans will win one statewide seat this year. I don't know which one it will be, but I think Minnesotans, after the trifecta, are going to, you know, send a message in one of the races that says, you know, we're not only going to vote for Democrats statewide.
Interesting. Your insight is always appreciated. Blois Olson, I know we'll have you back soon, so thanks for joining us. Sorry for the tech issues. It happens.
These things happen. It's all good. I had my own. I mean, I'm mobile on a phone with a tripod for the first time ever, so it all works out.
It's not as nice of a background as you usually have, but we'll take you wherever you are. All right, that was a conversation between myself and our political contributor, Blois Olson, from earlier today. We continue to follow this tornado that has touched down in Wisconsin, causing extreme damage. They're going to continue to talk about that in our 5 p.m. newscast. I'm going to toss it over to Randy Meyer and Simone Woolridge. They'll take it from here. Have a great day.
This is Fox 9 News at 5.
And thanks for joining us here at 5. I'm Randy Meyer.
And I'm Simone Woolridge. We are following a lot of headlines tonight. So coming up here at 5, a lot of people are cleaning up in east central Wisconsin after a tornado touches down. It causes a lot of damage. We'll have the latest tonight. Plus, the Democratic candidates for U.S. Senate come out swinging 2 weeks before the primary. We'll have the highlights from today's debate. Also, the BWCA is finally starting to open up as crews start to get the wildfires under control. So we'll talk about that. And this week is a great opportunity for anyone who has dreamed of performing at